Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 76. I am your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my fair weather friends Willie.
It's me.
And Jody.
Guten Morgen.
You see what I did there?
I did see what you did there.
I was quite proud of that one.
Oh, yes. Very good. Sorry. Hey, Willie.
Where's my praise?
The wind
Give him some praise.
No, it went over my head.
Willie didn't
No
prepare. He
praise
didn't
for
read
you.
these
It was
chapters.
it's too sharp.
We get to finally see the use of the Bowl of the Winds. And therefore...
I'll tell you right now, what an anticlimax. Again. Like Samael's death. I was like, what the fuck is this? Two
Really?
books I've been reading about this stupid bowl.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll tell you all of you guys right now. My notes are sparse.
Really? Well, actually, yes.
What?
Leading up to that event, yes, I can. This is what I was alluding to in the previous episode, right? Like, quite a bit of a quiet ride, or what is it? A peaceful ride. That chapter was just, hard going. Yeah.
That's my chapter, yeah. You will hear my disdain for that chapter in my report of it.
It's a pleasant ride, not a quiet ride.
Whatever.
I mean,
It's a
sure.
lame ride, is what it
It
is.
wasn't pleasant, was it?
It wasn't pleasant. No, it was very much using
Not
that
for the reader.
word ironically. What I was surprised by is if you look at the time spent looking for the Bowl of the Winds in Book 7, and now them using it pretty much at the start of Book 8, the whole Bowl of the Winds arc is not that long. I remember it being this like, oh God, this fucking schlep, you know, like having to toil through it. Which I can see now in hindsight, having just read those chapters, how my adolescent brain would have, you know, spun that narrative for myself. Yes. But I was surprised, like, oh shit, here we go. Used, done, next.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good.
It's true, like right in the beginning of the book, but like the actual use of it and the effects of it, they're like, no, you gotta wait. You know, it's kind of like, it's over in 5 minutes and nothing happens afterwards.
That's an interesting reaction. Okay, we'll get more into it when we cover that chapter because I think I had the opposite reaction. Like I was actually quite
great.
quite into
No,
it.
because look, someone's going to have to fill up my chapter discussions. There's a lot of gaps.
Don't worry, you know me. I got the talking points.
I figured somebody would have me covered. It's not my first rodeo.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get to that stuff. But before we do that, we take a look back in everyone's favorite section called Callbacks. All right. First off, we spoke briefly about the book lengths and how short book 8 is, you know, just by me seeing it on the shelf. You know, and it looked small, immediately being disappointed by it, then having to read these chapters, you know, that we've just been covering and will cover in this episode, being slightly more disappointed. But I went and I just looked quickly. I mean, this is easy to find at the length of each book. And as we would expect, apart from New Spring, The Path of Daggers is definitely the shortest. But I'll quickly tell you in order of longest to shortest. So the longest book is A Memory of Light.
Please, sir.
Memory of Light, obviously, 912 pages. Then Towers of Midnight, which is the book that precedes it, 861 pages. This is all in the first editions of these books. Then Gathering Storm, 784 pages. So book 12, 13, 14, the longest three. Before that, Knife of Dreams, which is book 11. So 11, 12, 13, 14, right? So the last four books are the four longest, which, you know, also kind of makes sense if you think about like all the stuff that had to be crammed in there. So yeah, those are all still coming our way. Then it's A Crown of Swords with 720 and Lord of Chaos, which we've covered, Fires of Heaven, then Shadow Rising. I'd always thought for the longest time that Shadow Rising was the longest, but it isn't. It's not even close. It's like right in the middle of the pack. And then it jumps back to The Eye of the World, which is longer than Winter's Heart. Winter's Heart feels like 1,000,000 years, right? but it's shorter than Eye of the World. Crossroads of Twilight is even shorter than that. And that also feels like an age.
Really?
Yeah. And then it's The Dragon Reborn, and then The Great Hunt is the second shortest, and then The Path of Daggers.
And then Newspring, I suppose.
Yes, and
We'll
then
add that to the
Newspring.
list.
I mean, the Path of Daggers is 528 pages, where a Newspring is 336. So it's like considerably shorter than the mainline books.
And then the Strike at Shale Ghul. Right at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an essay, really.
Very cool.
All right. Then I embarrassed myself by not knowing what the three legs of American government are. And those three branches are the Constitution of the United States divides the federal government into three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. And this ensures that no individual or group will have too much power. So legislative is, I immediately started talking about Parliament, which it is not. It's Congress, right, which is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. And then the executive branch is the president, the vice president, and the cabinet, so his advisors. So it's actually stretches beyond the president. And then the judicial branch is, like we said, the Supreme Court. So those are the three that keep each other in check. So sorry to our American listeners for stepping all over your system of government, but I've corrected that.
All right. Not that we need to know that, but yeah. To all our American listeners, why don't you tell us about the South African setup? I don't know. Explain it to me.
Then a very easy one. I said that Galad spotted Galena after Dumai's Wells, but of course it's Gowan. Galad was nowhere near there.
No, I didn't catch that.
No, me neither. Not in the edit. It was only on the final listen. I was like, shit, that doesn't make sense. Galad isn't here. Willie, you keep talking about the Saldaean army bringing all their wives, but I have to keep reminding you it's only the officers that brought their wives. So it's not like double
60,000 wives.
It's not that exactly. That's the picture you keep painting, and it's not that. It's not that wild.
I read it as 60,000. Like, I'm certain. Like, go delve deeper.
Okay. No, obviously you know best. Yes, no, we'll go with that. That's canon now. I spoke briefly about Marion, who is a sister that Moiraine killed, an Aes Sedai sister that Moiraine killed, which we introduced talking about Ethaniel and sort of her family that were killed in events that played out in A New Spring. So this is what it was. Marion was one of the Black Arch's searchers for the Dragon Reborn after they found out that he had been born. Her search eventually led her to Kandor, where she crossed paths with Landman Dragon and Moiraine. She tried to kill them and did kill Derek, Prince of Kandor, Brees, the consort and swordbearer of Queen Ethaniel of Kandor, and others. And when Marion grew overconfident and turned away, Moiraine managed to kill her with a knife in the back after a severe duel with the One Power. To keep the Black Archer hidden, Moiraine burnt Marion's body and didn't tell anyone about it. Killed her with a knife.
In the back.
Yeah.
While facing her in a duel with the One Power.
Yes.
That's some skill.
Marion thinks that she won and turns away and walks off. And then she didn't want to channel because they would have tipped her off. So she just used a knife and stabbed her. Good old practical Moiraine.
Yep.
We spoke briefly about Galena and the two Amelin seats that she had sort of reduced to a wretch. Tamara Ospenia is the one that's interrogated by Galena and other Black Archer sisters and is killed. And her death is actually made to look like a suicide. So Galena makes it look like the Amelin killed herself, which she didn't. Then, Villy, I had to mention this as well because you keep talking about Veren's reveal in the last episode. And I wanted to just say that, like, we know she's Black Archer, right? But I don't think anything in these scenes reveals that. She reveals more of her sneaky side, but if anything, the lie in The Great Hunt is a much more clear, if harder to spot, indicator of her secret Arja and quest, right? The fact that she could lie about Moiraine sending her to meet with the boys. And Moiraine actually, comments on it later when I think Rand or someone tells her that Varen said she was sent. And Moiraine just goes, no.
What about her using compulsion?
Well, she's not using actual compulsion, is she?
Nice.
And it doesn't go against the three oaths. Like, she's being sneaky, but she hasn't broken any of the three oaths. So you can't assume that she is Black Archer just because she's used that sort of sneaky weave.
Well, look, I think the tent, knowing that she set these women on a path to death, certain death, could that not be argued that she's using the One Power to kill?
She does.
Not a direct kill.
Well, so it still hasn't.
But she knows they're going to die. Her actions are going to cause this person's death. And she's using the One Power.
Not against the rules to
Still
kill
get
people.
an assist in gaming if you help someone kill.
I mean, if there's anything we've learned about the Aes Sedai, it's that they will do anything to reach their goals. There's nothing against, the Aes Sedai talk about having people killed and do have people killed, I think as
I'm conflating that with using it as a weapon.
The power as a weapon is one of the 3 oaths. Varen in this scene has not broken the 3 oaths, nor has she alluded to breaking the 3 oaths outside of this as well. So she also doesn't condemn her to certain death. She says this will likely kill her, but she doesn't know that. Like the actions that she will perform.
The word likely.
Might. Yeah, she keeps the door open a crack.
She's a sneaky one. Yeah.
The only reason I bring this up is because Varen's actual reveal of being Black Aja is black and white. She says to Egwene, that dress is green or something like that. She it's a blatant lie. And that is the first time that the reader is shown implicitly she is not held by the 3 oaths, and therefore you can assume she is Black Aja. And then she goes on to explain it in great detail.
That dress is green. I'm a Black Aja.
Yes.
Look at my notebook and look at my list. Yeah, it's pretty...
But that lie that she told about being sent about Moraine is in book 2, right?
Yeah.
So, if you were paying more attention than we always have been, you would go, she can lie. And then maybe with that and these scenes, you can go, okay. But I think these scenes in the Aiel camp don't necessarily show that she is of the Black Aja. Just really ruthless. Which I think a lot of Aes Sedai are. Sorry to belabor the point, but I think there's a lot of Aes Sedai out there that would do some pretty vile shit to get their goals met.
Yes. Elayne.
Yes. So speaking of the Black Aja, in total, we said, okay, there are 204 Black Aja members of the 950 Aes Sedai, or 21.5% of Aes Sedai that are in the Black Aja. The numbers above are from Varen's list of Black Aja sisters. This is what we were talking about last time, right? Like how many of the Black Aja sisters did Varen know about? Only one known named sister, Evanelian Lorne, was not on that list. So there was only one. Varen had all of them except for one on her list. There may be some other sisters that Varen could not find, but is unlikely to be more than a few. And indeed, it's hard for me to say this name, Evanelian may be the only one. So yeah, Varen's list, extremely complete. Willie, you seemed bemused by the fact that the wind wasn't blowing from the mountains of mist this time at the start of this book. And I thought, well, actually, when in listening to it again, I was like, well, it's different every time. But you were right. It repeats. So, quick recap. Eye of the World, Book 1, Mountains of Mist. The wind blows from the Mountains of Mist into the 2 rivers. In Book 2, it blows from the Mountains of Doom across the Blight into Shinar. In Book 3, it blows again from the Mountains of Mist out towards the Almouth Plain, where Rand is camped. In Book 4, it blows across the Elayne grass over Dragonmount and Tarvalon. In Book 5, it blows through the Braham Wood to Core Springs, where Min and Leanne and Swan are, in Gareth Bryant's town. In Book 6, it blows from Kyrian to Camelin. In Book 7, Braham Wood again, up the Tarvalon Road to Dumai's Wells. And then Book 8, Tremel King to Ebou Dar. So along the route that the Sean Chan are busy traveling towards Ebou Dar. So when I was listening to it, I was like, yeah, no, obviously, Villiers, it's not blowing from the Mountains of Mist again. But it did blow from the Mountains of Mist a couple times, and Braham Wood a couple times.
Yeah, never from the islands. New direction.
No, it was a new one, a new course.
It's the trade winds.
Yes, Jody was so eager to get us to understand the trade winds. It's the trade winds. Aviendha's last point of view was actually in the previous book. It wasn't Sex Igloo. It was in A Crown of Swords when she's on the boat riding out to the sea folk, and she thinks about Elayne having honor for not, making her, or bringing to everyone's attention the fact that she's feeling seasick and that sort of stuff. But before that chapter, there's only one other Aviendha point of view. And that's in Lord of Chaos chapter 19, outside of Rand's room. Aviendha remembers the obligation or the tow she has because of the time she traveled to Seanchan. She has tow to Rand because he saved her life, and she has tow to Elayne because she slept with Rand. And to fulfill her tow to Elayne, she must kill Rand. To fulfill her tow to Rand, she must kill herself. and they are mutually incompatible. Remember that little weird logic challenge she set us, which I still
bringing
have.
it back.
I'm not going to try and relitigate or reprocess that because it doesn't make any sense to me. But that was the only other point of view. And Sex Igloo is all from Rand's point of view. So that wasn't even an Aviendha POV.
I thought it was hers.
Oh, it was our poor virgin sheep herder. Then, Willie, your comment about the Amayar jumping into the volcano made me think, how did an entire nation actually commit suicide? And I read up about them. So, obviously, I'm going to read a little blurb. The Amayar began asking the gift of passage to each of the Seafolk islands, and all of the Amayar left the Seafolk ports. So they were all going back to Tremelking away from the Seafolk Islands. When the Seafolk noticed that none had returned, people were sent to Amayar villages, and all the Amayar were dead or dying. They had all poisoned themselves in the belief that the end of the illusion had come and that it was the end of time. This was signaled by the melting of the great hand on Tremelking. None of the Amayar could be saved. So they all drank poison. An entire nation.
Shit.
Here, my children, drink this poison. I mean, heavy. Then I made another mistake. I said Queen Tylan of Ebou Dar. Obviously, she's not the queen of only a city. She's the queen of Altara, not just Ebou Dar.
I wouldn't say so.
Yes, I mean, yeah, her power is very limited, but she's, at least by name and title, the queen of Altara.
Yes.
I also misspoke when saying that the kin are in Camelin during the events of A Crown of Swords, but I meant during the events of A Crossroads of Twilight. They're not in Camelin in the previous book yet. It's in Crossroads of Twilight that they're there, helping Elayne, or sort of like floating around Elayne as she takes on
book
the throne.
11?
Crossroads of Twilight is 10.
Tell me book numbers.
10.
10. Ah, okay.
Then, Willie, you listed Tower Aes Sedai among the women giving each other vibes, waiting to travel to the farm, but there are only rebel Aes Sedai present. Tylan and Jolene are the only Tower Aes Sedai in the Terrazin Palace, and they aren't there.
You know what I mean, that tower.
It sounds like I'm picking on you, but
You're just picking you apart today, Willie.
even when you pick Jody apart, you used my name.
Yes, that has happened. At least I'm not leaving myself out of the time of rebuke. And then we said, just a little observation for me. Between the 8 sisters that Pytar brought to the Black Hills and Tenobia's 5, that makes 13, which is a pretty dangerous number. And we probably should have taken note of that, even if only to make like a first reader real skeptical about this group and the Aes Sedai with them, right? Like we were saying, we know these are borderlanders and they're all going to fall in line and they're all going to help out Rand. But the fact that they have 13 Aes Sedai with them is probably supposed to make a first-time reader think like, ooh, that is a dangerous number of Aes Sedai to take with you when looking specifically for the Dragon Reborn.
And we did not mention this?
No.
That was my chapter, and I do recall thinking that. And I just didn't talk about it. Right.
We spoke about how many Aes Sedai there were, but not about the significance of that number.
Maybe I got sidetracked. Okay.
We did get excited about it. Because Ethaniel is thinking, the Aes Sedai must never know. And then Pytar brings 8, Zenobia brings another 5. This is a whole fucking bunch.
And they're like, what, you didn't bring Aes Sedai? Where's your Aes Sedai? Yeah. I thought you said we should bring Aes Sedai.
Then, on to listener contributions. Our old friend Levi writes in with this lovely message. I wanted to send you guys an email to let you know I've been enjoying the podcast and really appreciate the time and effort you put into the show. It is making this reread so enjoyable and helping me keep characters and storylines straight. Also get a couple of good laughs as well, so please keep up the good work. I enjoyed Willie's theory on the balefire influencing the death of Samael, and while it does seem like it does not directly influence his death, I like the idea of it influencing Samael's distraction and allows Mashadar to end him. So you've got a fan for that theory, Will. Excited for Moridin's story arc. I do not remember much about him from my earlier readings and have never really understood the mechanics behind the ending. My favorite part of A Crown of Swords is Matt being Matt in Ebou Dar, gambling on horses, drinking with Birgitte, and fighting the golem. Even with Thailand stuff, it's one of my favorite Matt stretches. Interesting take. I don't know a lot of people that would point to Ebou Dar as a favorite Matt stretch. Anyway,
You're
excited for the slog, though not the part of Perrin repeating every 5 seconds he would do anything to get Fail back. In my memory, that is really annoying, but we'll see if it ages better now. Again, want you guys to know I really enjoy the show and appreciate the work you put in. Thank you. What a nice message. Thanks, Levi.
Awesome. Well, dude,
Yeah. What a dude.
appreciate it.
Then, long-time listener, first-time contributor, Tim from New Hampshire submits the following. My first thought is that in my head, the Aes Sedai are pretty nunnish. So I always imagined them wearing different colored habits according to their Arja, even though Arja gives us 2 long descriptions of everyone's clothes all the time, which hilariously makes the black Arja into, well, just a regular Catholic nun. Another thought that I had was that on the show, while talking about Tel'aran'rhiod, you have spoken about how no one really knows why entering the dream world physically is so dangerous, but they all say that it is. Well, I think it's pretty simple. You could get stuck in there pretty quickly. When asleep, there's always the option to wake up in order to escape, but if you are physically there, you could get caught by a nightmare or any number of other things that could trap you forever, which is a pretty practical read on it, right? Like we said, the wise ones are a bit more vague about it. You know, like they say it's a thing of the shadow and their reasons for it. Like they say you lose some of yourself. Like that's their rationale. But this is a much more obvious and real reason to think that it is dangerous because, yes, there is no just waking up from it. You are there now and weird shit happens. And if you get caught up in it, your goose is cooked. And then Tim also says, also, this just occurred to me as well. What if you went in and got really sleepy and took a nap? Then where would your mind go? Inception?
Yeah, I think rule number 1 is don't sleep until after. It's like lying down in the blight. Why would you do that?
My only comment to that is looks like we have another Gerald in training here.
You should give those guys can share information and come up with crazy things.
Yeah.
Send to us.
Tim also sent some cool t-shirt ideas, which I won't rattle off here, but I mean, it's just reminded me that I need to get onto that and make us some more cool t-shirts. So thanks for those, Tim. And then finally, we have some voice notes. A friend of the show and me specifically, Rowan, sends in the following voice notes, plural.
Hey guys, so I'm in a weird position of being ahead of the podcast in reading and behind the podcast in listening. I've just finished listening to the dead horse flogging in Shadow Logos of Samael's death, and I'd like to weigh in slightly. I've got a couple of thoughts. I was going to speak about Taverin even before Willie brought it up, but I agree with Moritz and Jody. The Taverinness is the fact of Leia being left there in Shadow Logos, but being in the right place at the right time to distract Samael, and so he meets his end. I don't think it's got anything to do with Balefire, and I think to get involved in the Balefire timeline chaos is unwarranted. And surely the fact if he Balefires Leia, it removes her screen, which doesn't distract Samael, which means he doesn't not notice Mashadar and therefore escapes Mashadar. But putting all of that aside, I'm going to leave you a second message now because this one is almost at an end. But I want to talk about why I think it's a fitting end for Samael. Okay, so what I think, I was also super confused. I had to read this part like 3 times, being like, is he really dead? What just happened? What the hell is going on here? And I felt really let down and like this was a real anticlimax. However, if we look at Samael's character, he's always trying to strut about, be the most important, be the best, be more cunning than everybody else, and he revels in fooling people and being the best general and having all of these accolades. And so for me, it's really fitting that he doesn't get this triumphant, if you want to call it that, for want of a better word, or this glorious end in battle. He literally gets distracted by a scream, and gets killed by a mist in Shadow Logoth, with no one around to see it or hear it or um, even pay it attention. And so for me, it's quite a fitting, basically a fuck you, Samael. You're out of the story. Nobody gives a shit. That's what I think.
Yeah, I suppose. But still, I would have liked to see him squirm a bit.
Yes.
Not just turn around, oh, he's gone. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't even see
But it's a thing. Like, what was his name in the Stone of Tyr?
Shamal?
What was the
Belal.
Forsaken that?
Bob.
Belal.
Yeah.
Like, hey, yes, Belal. Oh, wait, he's dead. You know, and
Yeah. Orchestrating,
Like
like,
as well.
running the Black Arja in Tyr and like kidnapping people and like setting up this whole elaborate trap in the Stone of Tyr. And then Moraine's the one that Bell fires him. When he's about to like kill Rand. Like he's winning.
The only good one was Lanfear. They at the port with Rand and the Aiel and Moraine diving her through the twisted stone door, and like that's an epic, Forsaken fight.
That's a massive.
But a lot of them are
like-
just like off screen. Like while you were looking at something else, they
Well,
died.
let's rattle them off. Agenor, you don't see that happen. He draws like Rand finds his remains. Belthamel had a pretty cool one. I like that.
Yeah.
When the Green Man grabbed, remember like the Green Man grabbed him and,
Grew through him.
grew
Yeah.
inside of him.
and Belthamel is like touching the Green Man and like he's setting on fire at the same time that the Green Man is making stuff grow, like mushrooms and stuff growing out of his mouth and shit. And that sounded pretty wild. Belal, like we just said, pretty unceremonious. Ishamal, he got killed a couple times, right?
Yeah. Well, A for effort.
Yeah.
You know, keep trying, buddy.
Yeah. Asmodean. Oh no, it's you. Gone. Don't even know who killed him. You know, like, pretty unceremonious as well.
There's so many Forsaken. Robert Jordan couldn't write elaborate death stories for them. Like,
No,
fuck
I
it. This guy
guess
just
not.
died, right? Deal with it.
Yeah. All right, that's it for callbacks. So let's then move along to previously on Blood and Ashes. We kicked off the Path of Daggers with a secret meeting between the Borderland rulers who snuck some forces into the Black Hills to make a blood oath, to work together to find the Dragon Reborn and set him straight. Also, they have 13 Aes Sedai with him. Then we checked in with Varen, who has deftly maneuvered herself into a position to interrogate the captured kidnapper Aes Sedai from Dumai's Wells, and doing so unwatched by the Aiel, whose camp they're staying in. She learns that Catelyn Alroden has escaped, but she appears to be busy with her own little schemes as she deploys a weave akin to compulsion on Beldine, another of the Tower Embassy captives, and gives her a set of instructions we are not privy to. She observes Irgain, one of the Aes Sedai who was stilled when Rand escaped, and it makes her feel ill. She also muses on what a pity it is that Catelyn hadn't met with an quote-unquote accident. She appears to be setting things in place to keep Rand alive, quote, again, until it is time for him to die. Then we switch to Moridin, mad as a hatter, playing Shara with himself while stroking his two mind traps. Then we jump to join Aviendha, Elayne, and Nynaeve as they prepare to depart for the farm managed by the kin. Aviendha is really conflicted about how she's feeling about wetlanded things, feeling like she's going soft. On their way, they run into Teslin, who again cautions them about acting above their station, but doesn't try to stop them. Nynaeve tries to give Teslin vital information regarding the Gholam, Moridin, and the Black Arja, but she dismisses all of it. The girls make their way to the courtyard they're departing from, along with Lan and Birgitte. In the courtyard, the tensions are running very high between Windfinders, Aes Sedai, and kin. Aviendha weaves a gateway, and the party starts passing through. Aviendha is the last woman to remain in the Tarazan Palace, along with 4 warders. And not for the first time that day, she feels she's being watched, and when she looks over her shoulder, she can make out a person on a high balcony with the sun behind them, seemingly watching them. She sends a panic message to Elayne to be careful with one of the Windfinders, draws as much of the one power as she can hold, and readies herself for action. And that brings us to the first of today's 4 chapters. Chapter 2, called Unweaving. Vil, what is being unwoven?
I tell you, stuff that shouldn't be, apparently. We are unweaving a chapter here, the point of view of Elayne. If you haven't noticed, I'm very full of energy today. And
Yeah, calm it down to a frenzy.
yes, this is a symptom of the chapters.
We have to counteract the subject matter with bringing a lot of energy. This is
Yes.
exciting.
This is so good. The horde is being led through the gateway that Aviendha is keeping open. There's a lot of shame in Aviendha. We'll cover that off as we hit it. But we're back to Elayne, who is daydreaming about the mechanics of the bowl and how the weather's going to be good again and life's going to be perfect. Now, as she's daydreaming, she's also sussing out all the Windfinders as they coming through the gate hole. She's busy scanning each and every one for what level of power they have in them, and she's quite disappointed with the batch. They're not particularly strong. However, there is two, and these are two that join a little bit later. They Rainen and Talan, and Talan is particularly gifted in the power. She is just one step below Lanfear in the power strength. She is potent, same leveled equal with Masana. Any which way,
Wow.
and that is a nice little find that Elayne thinks they're like, okay, this is pretty good, with a little bit of Ungreals there. You can really light up a bowl.
Spark a bowl, you say?
Spark a bowl for sure. Now, after all of these women's have made their way into the bushy clearing and everyone's all too happy that their feet is touching grass again, it's back to their standoff and their stare-off. They haven't let go of their disagreements and their fealties and whatever. And Elayne is trying to sum up like how she's got to deal with all of the complexity of this. But good old Leanie pipes up in her head, peel the apple in your hand, not the one on the tree. And she's like, thank you, Leanie. So superpowers, Leanie. Now, towards the end of this procession is the horses that are packed and laden with many items of the power and much more rubbish and scrap. Elayne sees this now as an opportunity to not deal with the horde of people that is looking at each other, and it's like time to start, sifting through this nonsense that is on the back of these horses. Now, some of the finds that she starts going, and what she does, she explains, like, it's not about channeling, it's about just feeling for a resonance that is around the object and how she does it. But there's a few objects of value. There's a blue stone root that it looks like a tree root or a carrot, I suppose. And do any of you know what that thing does?
Is it the growing thing?
Yeah, it's growing Terangriel. If it's sung through it, it does grows waygates.
Well, people have thought that.
Thought that. Yes, that's what I could find. And then there's an ivory box with the red and white and green stripe on. There's an MP3 player, full of music.
Oh.
And then there's a black rod that is full of pain. A crystal vial full of red blood. That no one knows what it does. Don't drink the fluid, I'd say.
Flows through your veins. Keeps you alive.
Yeah. And then there's the 2 foot tall bearded man holding a book, which is like a library from the Age of Legends, full of knowledge that will be only unlocked a little bit later. And then she finds the little brooch, Ungreal, which is quite important. It's one of 4 that she finds in this period.
I think so.
Now, Van Dien then reprimands her basically for what she's doing, and it should be left for someone with more experience. Elayne straight bats it back to her, saying that she's the only one that makes this stuff now, and she knows what she's doing. But Van Dien also tells her, like, this woman back in the tower tells the whole story of the one woman that burned herself out, couldn't remember why, just as a tale of caution, like, even experienced you can. And while this exchange is happening, Merilil has a little, like, breakdown. And Elayne turns around, she frowns, and then she realizes what this commotion is about. Aviendha is busy unraveling the weave of the gateway, thread after thread. And this thing starts, like, wobbling and warping and like you can imagine, like its substance is now being pulled apart at the thread of existence. but she delicately does it, to which she is absolutely attacked by every Aes Sedai there, that she should be in novices' books, and she doesn't know, and she's dangerous, and what. And then Aviendha and Elayne then, because like, okay, well, have you ever thought about asking her why she did it? And she lets out, well, quite simple. Are you so stupid to leave traces behind for someone to follow us 3 to 4 days later with the residue? This leaves zero traces. And we'll deal with the fact that she's also at that stage very concerned about Moridin's up in a tower staring at her, that she can feel the evil and the vileness from. So there's that drove her decision making, and she admits a bit later to Elayne that, you know what, even I know this was dangerous, but like, I was so scared of what I felt there that it was 100% needed. I had to do it. So very good on her, but well, we'll see how it goes. Sorry, I'm just catching up with my notes here.
I expected that gateway to explode, but that happens later.
Yeah, they actually use it later as a weapon. They'd go through a gateway and then rip it apart if they're being chased. Like, just rip it apart so it explodes. And I remember there's a scene along grassy hills that are all blackened afterwards with Sean Chan chasing them, and they took out like a whole Sean Chan regiment or whatever.
I don't know that was purposeful.
I don't know if it was purposeful or an accident, but they know it'll happen if you don't do it properly. They're discussing it right here, so...
Yeah, they all know it's goddamn dangerous.
You just don't do it. Not with little ones, not with big ones, but again, wise ones know things that the Aes Sedai do not know, and they have got this as part of their training on a select few, and it's apparently as easy as picking apart crocheting, or what was it?
Yes,
knitting,
something
Crocheting,
like that.
yeah.
But it is a talent. It's a capital T talent to be able to
Capital
unpick
T
it.
talent.
Aviendha says not all, but a few can do it. So it's not like all the wise ones can do it. But her response to the Aes Sedai is like, "Is this another thing you Aes Sedai cannot do?"
Yes, and I love it so much. just like in your face, stop shouting at me and telling me I'm
Don't
a
lecture
novice.
me.
Something
You mean you can't do
do.
this? Yeah.
But anyway, after that, Elayne has a quick little side chat with her about her block into traveling, and says to her, like, maybe speak to Van Dien and Adelaus, because they will have a different perspective about it. To which Aviendha then opens up and tells her the real reason why Travelgate exists, not as a travel gateway, as a travel scandal, because of the happenings of igloo sex, which makes Elayne obviously feel like shit, but also not, happy for her sister. Weird feelings being felt. And also a quote from Lini popping up. There's some defty quotes from Lini here, saying that if a woman is acting foolish, look for the man that's involved. And I'm just like, Lini, that's not a cool quote, man. Like, that's true. Yeah. Now, Nynaeve, and thank you for that reminder, because I nearly missed out of that one. She's a blithering idiot. Now she's away from land. She can't function. Elayne wonders if she ever gets to marry, if she'll turn into an idiot too. So apparently, women who are overtaken with great love and emotion turn into idiots.
According to Elayne.
Not my words, Elaine's words.
Yes.
Right. Aviendha does confide in Elayne around the truth fear that she felt at the sight of Moridin, and she thought it was gholam.
It was the gholam.
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't it both of them?
No. Moridin is standing inside a room looking through the
but I mean,
window.
they're both watching.
They're both watching.
They're watching.
But the person she saw on the high vantage point, that was the gholam.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get onto that, because we're going to go to those next.
Yes.
And Elayne tells Aviendha that, look, everything's going to be better. They're going to use the bowl of the wind, and everything will be right as rain. not. Then we go to point of view of Moridin, who is watching Aviendha walk through. So he's definitely there watching her. So my assumption is that she could see him. And as they walk through, he sees the gateway trembling and it vanished, and his curse is impossible. Like, how the fuck do they know this? Like, stupid bloody woman. Wilders, he calls them primitives. These primitives and their new skills. Like, how did they find out these things? Yeah. Anyway, he has a rap at the door and Great Master, and his old mate Merrick comes into the room, drops the knee, and he reports on a great deal many things, saying that the witches had found their treasures, and among the treasures are things that can change the weather, and there are things of the power in there. And it's 10 different stories of where these women went, but none of them can be confirmed. Like, they actually, he believes that no one knows where they disappear to. Moridin's not even listening to this. He's batshit crazy. He decides to grab onto the true power, saw flying through his eye, and stops listening, goes off in his own little tangent about thinking about the bowl of the winds, that can it be true, and are they strong enough? And also that did she really unravel the weave? Like, did she even do it? So it would appear that not even the Forsaken have this ability or knowledge to do.
No one in the Age of Legends.
Yeah, like, this is a new thing. He then, as he goes and he rage envelops him, he grabs like kind of, I don't know, the framework or the cassock. I don't understand exactly nicely what he's doing with the power there, but it's like
a fine wrought iron cover over the window, so you can see through the little gaps, but it's sort of like a shade, right? And he's holding onto it with his actual hand, and he crushes it and also old mate behind him.
Okay. While he's holding on to the power, old mate Merrick gets the
he gets the squeeze.
Treatment. And he gets the
juices squeezed out of him.
Fluids is leaked out onto the floor. And that is Moridin out. Rips a hole in the pattern with the true power and just walks to where he wants to go. Something Rand does in the end, eh?
It's something we've seen Ishamal do a couple times. When he travels with the true power, that's how he does it. He does it in the prologue of the book. Of book 1, when he appears to Lews Therin where he's mad. That's how he travels.
Didn't you remember Billy Zane doing it? Choy.
Oh, God, no.
All right, now we go to perspective.
Not looking so bad now, is it?
All right, old mate Gholam. He has now entered the room after Moridin had opened the hole. He can sniff many smells. He doesn't quite know what he smells there because this is not on his radar, but it smells something that makes him itchy. Feels of something that makes him itchy, the residue of the true power that was channeled there, obviously. But also the smell of fresh blood is very present in the room. He knows, he reflects on that, how he is the most dangerous weapon ever made. But there's now this man with a medallion that he thinks about. And then they bring light to the fact that he's got a scar on his face. But Gholam wishes not to be in control of. He dreams of freedom. He's got aspirations to what can he do when he's free to do his own things. But Gholam needs to feed. And there's a corpse in front of him with juicy blood. And he feeds, and
it's already outside the body as well.
How convenient!
It's a bonus. Very convenient. And the fresh blood, especially human blood, is the sweetest flavor. And he feeds. So that's the only reason I think it was Moridin that Aviendha was looking at, because when Gholam was in that room, but maybe earlier, Gholam was in a different room.
Well, the Gholam thinks to himself here, he's very wary of Matt. The man who had wounded it was not with them. He had made sure of that before leaving his high vantage place.
Okay.
So the person that Aviendha senses is like on a high walkway or something outside with the sun behind them. Moridin is in a room behind a wrought iron thing that from a distance you can't see through it, but he's standing up against it. He can see them. So she saw the golem.
Right, so it is actually the golem.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That I thought through this exchange that Moridin watching them, but obviously two of them were.
He was just also watching them. They were being well and truly observed. But the golem actually trumps Moridin here slightly. Moridin thinks to himself, they probably went far to the north. People who are afraid run far away. But they're actually not that far away, right? The Kin's farm is just outside of Ebou Dar, and the golem senses exactly where they went to. He can sense the gateway on the other side. He's like, they're only a couple of miles to the north.
Yeah, I think he can feel the channeling. He's drawn to the channeling and the challenger. And you can imagine
that's its whole purpose.
Of them there, he can feel this big ass target probably right on them. The golem is sensed in. Golem is cool. I like him. He's
of course you do.
Do not to become friends with the golem.
No, he's fascinating mind. I'd like to hang out with him a bit. It's like,
so he's kind of like an agent in the Matrix, you know?
Yes. A little bit, like Agent
Smith.
Agent Smith.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the chapter.
That's it. Hey, yeah.
Those points of view. It says, effectively, in terms of what happens in time, they step through a hole, and people see them stepping through a hole. Yes. That is the time that passes.
They actually started stepping through the hole in the previous chapter.
Last chapter already. They started stepping through the hole. So we're going through almost all of the inner thought of what's happening in the characters' heads while they're stepping through the hole.
And the unweaving.
Yes,
that's also, that's kind of a cool thing. That's kind of an event.
Okay, I have a big question about that. How does Moridin see the weaves? Because
he doesn't see the weaves.
No, he doesn't. He sees the
exact
gateway.
Same thing.
Sees so he's
the behavior of the gateway is different.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And he figures he knows how gateways close. That's not how they close.
Yeah.
So but how?
What did she do?
They must have.
If the gateway is made,
just go back into it like a spinning line.
Oh, I suppose you see what's on the other side of the gateway.
Yeah.
Because if you open and chose it, like we've been through this, like spins on its own axis, like meow, upside down, and then reflect back.
Meow.
Yeah.
Well, that's how a gateway will go.
And everyone can see it. Like even non-channelers can see a gateway opening.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not the weave itself; it's the result of the weave that is observable by all. Joe, did you have any notes in your sparse notes? Do you have anything?
I did actually. Probably got more notes on this chapter than I do on my own.
Okay, great.
Well, just one thing that Willie said. He said that the golem, that we bring notice to the scar on his cheek, but it's not a scar. It's still raw and hurting. Like it doesn't seem to heal. I don't think it ever heals on his face.
The wound.
It's not a scar.
Face.
Yes.
The open, pulsating wound that he'll live with for the rest of his life. This guy you like so much for some reason. Did you go out for beers?
Doesn't he say something like he'd felt pain for the first time? Like something like he makes a comment about like this is the first time he's ever felt pain.
Yeah. It sucks. Yeah,
dude.
I will, buddy. The other thing about is Aviendha being totally vindicated. Like she feels so much shame and gets so much shit on the other side, and she's 100% correct.
Totally.
They were literally it was a golem and the nameless of the Forsaken staring at them. She did everything perfectly.
One of the Aes Sedai on the other side is sort of downplaying. He's saying, "I'm pretty sure there are no Forsaken watching us."
Yeah, it's
Black
Archer.
No, carry on. Carry on, Franzi.
Carry on.
She's Black Archer.
Okay. She's a sneaky one.
She is, and she'll come up again in another chapter we're going to cover today.
And something that I read about in this chapter, and it stayed with me for days now, is I always wondered about the Sa going across their eyes. And in this Moridin chapter, it's like, does that affect their vision, or is it like a magical thing? But it affects their vision. Because
it's very much chapter, a magical thing.
He says... Yeah, but I mean, it's not just like we see it on the outside of their eyes, but it doesn't affect Moridin's sight. But in this chapter, it says the Sa bellowed across his sight, not his eyes. So from the inside, he's seeing all this black stuff floating over his eyes. And I'm thinking,
Interesting.
that should be annoying during a battle, really. Like you're fighting with the one power. Doesn't it hinder you? Not being able to see?
It's a reminder that you got such good power now. You don't need your eyes. You can
Well, even drawing the
see
one
with
power
the
sort of
power.
heightens your senses and stuff. So maybe the true power is like maybe he's aware of stuff around him that wouldn't need. He wouldn't need
Feel the
regular eyesight.
vibrations and the energies of everything around you. You plugged into the matrix, like you can see the code.
Oh yeah.
You brought the matrix up. Now it's going to stay the whole episode.
Oh, no, there we go. It's my own fault.
What else you got,
But
Joe?
yeah, that sight, like that's it. I'm done. Those 3 things.
Cool. Vil, anything
Still
else?
more than my notes.
No, I did the chapter, so like I can't.
You did.
I can go through it and see is there something that I missed. There's like it's. I know why they call this the slog because there's not a lot of time that passes. And if you a time and events person that reads about the great battles and it goes from great battle, then people standing still and stepping through a doorway over 100 pages is pretty fucking sloggy.
You know,
It is.
when they're stepping through this gateway, it was that morning they found the bowl in the Rahad.
Yep,
It's the same day.
same day still. Like
Yeah.
right now, shit just blew up and Matt's stuck under like.
But this is all before that.
Yeah, that's still coming.
This is
We've
all
already-
this is playing out while Matt is running through the city looking for Olva. You know, he goes to like he
Olva.
finds and he stares that woman outside of the inn, and then he goes to another before he even goes to the docks. He's away for hours looking for Olva before the Sean Chan attack, and it has to be hours because of what we read in these chapters, right? Like what happens at the end after they've used the bowl is when Matt is caught in that attack. Okay, let me rattle off my quick little observations here, and then we can move right along. I said it's cool that Nynaeve knows which way Lan went because she's a good tracker. Like Elayne in the beginning is like, oh, maybe there's some kind of weird bond after being married or something. And then she admits to herself, well, Nynaeve is also extremely skilled at woodcraft and stuff, you know, so she can follow a warder, which is great. The Windfinders are almost desperate to learn what the Aes Sedai know. So gateways first and then linking. So imagine how surprised the people back home will be when Windfinders start showing up out of thin air. These are people that go on ships and long journeys and stuff, right? And that had me thinking like, okay, cool. So like when they learn linking as well, which we see happen in these chapters, can they do big enough gateways to send a ship through? And then I thought, if they can make gateways, do they need ships?
Yeah.
And then what do the sea folk do? You know, it's their
Exactly.
whole way of
They
life.
just said that this is a way that we can pay less people and move goods and sell it. Like we can just rock up over there, claim a
Don't
little
need
bit
ships.
and stock up a warehouse. Like it's going to be a warehouse and
In minutes.
portals. Minutes. Like, oh, what do you want? Ice peppers from Faldara? Let me get that for you.
Exactly.
Bam.
Yeah, give me 20 minutes. I'll be back.
What are they called?
So it
in,
basically becomes Amazon
Dune?
Prime in the future.
The Space
One day
Travelers League people.
The Spacing Guild.
The Spacing Guild. They
The Navigators.
becoming the Spacing Guilds now.
Except all the other channelers on like mainland can also create gateways. Right? It's not even like they've got a
Yeah,
monopoly
but they got
on it, like the
rules
Spacing
around
Guild.
that shit. Like you can't go make an income based of it. These guys don't have rules, and that's why they're so hated. Like I'm hating them even more and more. They
The
are
Aes
just
Sedai
annoying.
absolutely do not have rules about gateways because until like right now in these books, they did not know they could be made. They didn't know
No,
about it.
the Aes Sedai have got rules about the use of power for profit and profiteering. That's for sure. Otherwise, people would put up magic shows.
I don't
in the
think
in
that
the
that
somewhere
can be
around there
assumed.
would be a rule to say like you can't use the power for menial tasks, magic entertainment where you can get money from.
But then
This
they
is
do it.
deemed witchery and like kind of shit like that.
But then the Aes
I don't-
Sedai use the power for menial tasks, and the Aes Sedai also seem to have a lot of money. So they're doing
they do.
something to get money.
Do you think
And now-
they channel money out the ground?
No, but I think
Il-
no. I mean
Right.
that's
I have a-
fucking crazy. What they can do without breaking any of their Aes Sedai rules is use the one power in, you know, supporting their organization by making money. And also the Aes Sedai are not the only channelers, right? Not anymore. And haven't been.
And
I mean, the
no,
kin.
not anymore. But I mean, the kin are scared of the Aes Sedai.
How many wilders out there? The wise ones, like anyone that can channel, can use gateways. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that the Windfinders don't have a monopoly on all of trade because now suddenly they can do gateways. There's a shit ton of other people that can do gateways. They can offer their services for a fee and let regular merchants use gateways. Like it's a free for all now.
Well, yeah, they can. But that's my thing is more around how shady they are. These traders, sailors, merchants, if you want to call them, maybe they're like beldams. What is it?
Smugglers.
Smugglers as well.
They very clearly are not. Their whole thing is about striking deals and like being excellent traders and negotiators. These are not things that smugglers do. They are traders.
Oh, I'm sure some of their number are some smugglers. They lost their trading licenses or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not getting off the ship.
And I think all they want to do is open gateways now. That's but anyway, I'm gonna stop there.
Okay.
Before I get sucked into how much I dislike
just one last thing.
Yes.
Can you open a gateway like onto the moon? Can you use gateways for space travel? How far can you gateway away?
What are the rules about having to know where you're going and where you are?
Where you are. No, for a gateway, you got to know where you are, not where you're going.
You'll probably go to the moon. I mean, it would suck there.
You're going to
with
die.
No air.
Yeah. Like as you open the gateway, does the moon suck because all the air go out of Earth
Yes.
through the gateway into space?
Yes, that definitely
You'd have to do it
would
in an airlock.
be
Open a gateway in an airlock and have a suit on already. I'll think about this and get back to you guys.
Please do. I mean, this is the crucial stuff that we need to get to the bottom of.
This is Stargate. They've invented Stargates. You can travel the universe with it.
While Elayne is like sussing out all the different Windfinders as they walking through, she sees one who's much older, grey, mediocre in the power. I didn't jot down the name, but that has got the holes for all 6 earrings, but now only wears one. And it's sort of like what you said, like get to that demoted
like Renale,
your Windfinder.
yes.
Yeah, like
you have to
Renale,
start
like
at the
you
bottom
can
again.
drop down, do the bottom again on the.
That's
do
true.
it.
Yeah. Good spot. What else do we have here? I was stoked to see how clever Elayne is. Like she thinks to herself, like she's standing by the gateway, sort of, to make it look like she's ushering, but she's using the opportunity to just check everyone's strength in the power. Phil, I wrote down all the stuff that the Terangriel do as well. The only one, the growing one, what I read about it is that while some have speculated that this is a talisman of growing for making the ways, the Ogier say that they were given only one. They prize memory, so if they lost one back in the past, they would remember this disastrous event. Furthermore, this carving is a little small for Ogier to handle easily. It could be some Terangriel used in scientific experiments that the male Aes Sedai modeled the talisman of growing on. The ways themselves were based on the results of studies of the portal stone worlds. And then another possibility is that the Terangriel grows vacuoles, which were used in some scientific experiments by Aes Sedai in the Age of Legends. Remember, that's those holes outside of the pattern. And if so, the Terangriel would be activated by Dashane Aiel singing and not Ogier. All theory, right? Nobody knows. The small box that felt like ivory covered in wavering red and green stripes. Aviendha thinks the box holds music. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
hundreds and hundreds, perhaps thousands of tunes. Yeah. So one or more of them could be the melody or melodies of the songs or spark a memory of singing with a capital S. So, the song that the Tuatha are looking for. You mentioned the black rod causes pain, the crystal vial, no one really knows. And yeah, the bronze man with the book has books predating the drilling of the bore. So yeah, like all the accumulated knowledge.
Major knowledge there.
Yes.
There's a good find.
I was surprised that what Elayne terms as a relatively weak Ungriel would allow Elayne to channel twice as much as Nynaeve.
Weak.
Well, weak is relative.
Yeah. But we're entering a period in the books now where if you're not using an Ungriel, you're going to get overpowered. Everybody is rolling with Ungriel these days. Like these ones they find you, the rings attached to the bracelet and stuff that Nynaeve now takes. And then Olivia later gets all the rings and earring sets that Elayne finds her as well. People are cruising around with Ungriel all the time just to be, to match the other, almost to the other players, because it is like a video game, right? Like everyone's getting better weapons now.
Yeah, just leveling up, buying new armor.
When Vandine lectures Elayne about the Aes Sedai who was studying Terangriel and got burned out despite her caution, she's talking about Martine Janata, something like that. That's Satel Anan.
Ah, is it?
Mm-hmm. That's why she's...
Oh, wow.
That's how she got burnt out. She was studying Terangriel.
Oh, so was it her that started the cache? Like to try and...
No,
Maybe that's why they
the
had such a
cache
giant
was 100% the kin. They started collecting when they found things on the path. They just wanted to hide them in case they drew the attention of Aes Sedai. So for more than, I think it's about 100 years old. It's been happening for just over 100 years. They've just been squirreling the stuff away in this, like, that's why it's in the Rahad as well, right? It's far away from them. It's in a place where no one would go, in a forgotten storeroom by design. The kin are actively managing to keep that stuff away from Aes Sedai. So the kin and Satel and Anan also have a very uneasy relationship. The rest of the kin beyond Rian Corley don't know that Satel actually knows everything about the kin.
All right.
There's a cool little moment when Bagheera goes to join the rest of the Warders. They greet her with nods and then start discussing stuff. Like she's in with the Warders, like they accept her as one of their own, which is great.
Why wouldn't she be?
I know.
Come on.
It's just cool to see it, like because what you don't see is the Warders accept anyone. Right, like the Warders are never like nodding to someone in acceptance unless they really, really earn it, which is cool for our girl. So obviously this wrought iron screen with Moridin watching and the pool of blood on the floor and the golem appearing were all the things that I had seen. Like I had a flash of this scene in my mind and I couldn't place it. Moridin is the one that squeezes the blood out of Merrick. That's why there's blood on the floor and the golem didn't drink it directly out of him. But it all did play out. And then the things that Moridin sort of rattles off that these quote-unquote rustics have discovered. So healing severing, however imperfectly. So if he's saying it's done imperfectly, he must be talking about the same gender healing, because when the opposite gender heals you from severing or stilling or gentling, it's back to your full strength. So that is, I would call that a perfect healing. So maybe he doesn't know about that bit of it. He mentions here involuntary rings. Is he talking about the Adam? Were you forcing someone?
About the Warders.
He mentions that separately. Also, this bond that the Aes Sedai have with the Warders.
Oh, I thought that was a continuation of the involuntary ring.
I mean, a ring is what they term linking, right? So where you are drawing someone else's power and directing flows based on the power, your combined power level.
Well, then it must be the Adam and all that stuff.
Yeah, because, I mean, they go through great lengths in these chapters that we'll get to explain how you can't pull someone into a circle involuntarily.
Yeah.
The water bond you just mentioned, Joe, that's cool that they didn't have that in the Age of Legends, and he's sort of impressed by it. Unpicking weaves, obviously. And then he comments on the Windfinder's ability to control the weather is akin to what the Bowl of the Winds is actually supposed to do. So the Bowl of the Winds, he thinks to himself, will only affect a small part of the continent, not even the whole continent. But the Windfinders, he is shocked to learn, can, without any assistance, do exactly what the Bowl of the Winds is intended to do. Like without a Terangriel, Windfinders can affect the weather around them, much like we saw happen when Elayne saw it the first time on the ship when she and Nynaeve traveled with the Sea Folk the first time. But what happens here, and we can maybe elaborate on it during the chapter, is they use the Bowl of the Winds and they overpower it way higher than it was ever designed to. It was never made to affect global weather patterns. There were lots of them around in the Age of Legends and they could affect the weather around them. So they are jamming way too much power into this thing. And that has effects that we can talk about later. And that is it. We spoke about Moridin and the Golem, so I am ready to continue if you are.
Let's do it. This will be quick.
Ooh, okay. Chapter 3. A pleasant ride. Please give us a pleasant recap, Jody.
Sure. Now they're all through the gate. They're all through the gate, and they need to go on horses through the forest to the farm, which is hours away. I don't know why we couldn't just make this gateway closer. But then we wouldn't have this pleasant chapter.
It's pleasant ride.
On. Yes. There's a lot of everybody trying to convince other people to do stuff. The Aes Sedai are there. The kin are there. The Windfinders are there. They're all pissing off Elayne, basically, as they walk back, trying to take turns coming up to her to try and convince her to do stuff. The kin, sorry, it's very confusing, have Ispan. They got her shielded. So they're coming up to Elayne saying, maybe she should be interrogated by the Aes Sedai. She's like, no, you keep her. And then the Aes Sedai are coming up one by one saying, like, hey, maybe we should grab a hold of that Ispan chick and sort her out. She's like, no. They are with the kin. So they have, like, everybody's trying to convince her to change things. Adelaus suggests that she should use Aviendha as, like, a weapon against the sea folk, because they have these outlandish ideas about the Aiel, and they seem to be really put off by Aviendha. So she does. She just points Aviendha at them, and Aviendha knows what to do.
She smiles like a wolf or something, like you can tell she's reveling in this opportunity to intimidate.
Let me at them. Yeah. I'll go fuck with them with pleasure. All right. Nynaeve is all fussy with Lan, and she's freaking out, and she's running after him riding after him as he goes off, like scouting. And when he comes back, she comes back, and Elayne is just getting constant idiots around her the entire time. And then they arrive at the farm. That's it. In my opinion, they get to the farm after people annoy Elayne.
Yes.
And she thinks, oh, God, this is the first time we hear that her next plan is to go back to Camelin. So this is the important part I found. So now she's like, I can't wait until all this shit is done so I can get back to Camelin. I've got some long overdue jobs to be doing there of importance rather than dealing with all of these people. Yeah. But we also do learn that the Windfinders don't like Elayne.
Yes.
Well, Windfinders don't like anyone.
They don't,
They really need to go get back on their boats. Yeah, I don't like them.
No. Same. I no time for them.
Use the bowl. Get back in your boats. But now they're coming to Camelin too. Oh God.
Is that there's going to be a woman that can channel that you think's going to be cool and play part, but then they're just going to be like horrible, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's like not everyone's going to play ball.
So, Willie, I assume you have lots and lots of notes about this chapter.
No, none. I don't even want to talk about this chapter.
I do not even acknowledge its existence.
Like, this chapter need not have existed. Open gateways. Open a gateway right into the village, because we see in the chapter now what their arrival does anyway.
Yes.
Wouldn't have made any difference.
We've had this problem before about, like, from gateway to riding into town has been vastly weird. Like, you get the mechanics of having this gateway, but they always put you 200 kilometers away from your end goal. You always got to ride in, like, for half a day.
Yeah. There's lots of, like, umming and eyeing and thinking and plotting and scheming to be talked about on these horse rides. But you can't do it.
Time is of the essence, right? Like, they're hurrying. Yeah. I don't know.
And Nynaeve is pissed off about it in my chapter, about how much time is being wasted.
Yes.
Well, open the gateway closer. Jesus. Anyway.
Okay, I've got a couple things to rattle off here, and then I'm going to ask Willie a question. I loved how Aviendha just seemed to be talking to Curran, the Windfinder, without even really looking at her. So when Aviendha goes off to, like, intimidate them, she's just talking. She's not even really looking at them, just talking out loud. But then it has exactly the effect that they needed. So I'd love to. I googled it. Like, I try to find, like, if anyone ever knows what Aviendha said to them, but you don't. A note here that Elayne still does not have the Aes Sedai composure that she should have. I mean, she shrieks at Merilil, right? Merilil, I think, suggests something like that the kin, maybe, who knows whether they're dark friends or not, should they be guarding Ispan? And then she's like, fuck you. You were not in the Rahad, which, again, was not their fault. They were told to stay behind. But she says, they were there and they faced the Black Archer and some of their number died. So don't you ever come to me with anything like that unless you have rock solid proof. And then she thinks to herself, she never had a voice for shouting. It always came out as a shriek. So, like, you can imagine her riding at the head of the column, shrieking at Merilil, and everyone looking at her like, oh, that's not a good look.
And the water's going like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're off. They're scouting. And
They're probably hearing the shrieks.
probably thinking, God damn it, we're trying to be
Racing
stealthy.
back in, thinking they're under attack.
After Elayne screams at Myrtle, Aviendha gives her an approving nod. But Elayne thinks that she would have gotten the exact same nod if she had stabbed Myrtle in the heart.
Yes.
Yes,
That
she would have.
is exactly
Aviendha
the nod.
still would
You
just
are
be like,
100% correct.
Yes, this is good.
It's good thrusting action. Very well done.
Now clean your blade before it starts to rust. Then we get some confirmation of what we had already kind of inferred, that the Aes Sedai partly held their power and influence by actively maintaining the illusion that they are better than everyone else. So Elayne is...
Illusion, keyword.
She is she's thinking, or she is told by Van Dien, I think almost explicitly, that like, look, we should be the ones holding Ispin because everyone knows Ispin is an Aes Sedai. We need to look like we're the only ones that can sort of handle it. We will take care of it. You're sort of putting a dent in our reputation here. And I think we said it in the last episode as well. I don't know why Elayne and Nynaeve are clinging so doggedly to the kin being the ones to shield Ispin and travel with her. I mean, honestly, I think Van Dien has a point, right? Like, everyone would feel a lot safer, including the kin, who are freaking out about this. Like, they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, like, why not just give it to the Aes Sedai? I don't know. It seemed weird.
It could be a power play, like she's made a decision now.
Yes, that's
And
likely it.
If she backs off it,
Yeah,
then she may look weak.
yeah. Like, she can be influenced by others. That's a good point, actually, Joe, and it plays into the last comment I want to make about the chapter. But Aviendha expects Elayne to teach her everything about men, and obviously Rand is most often used as the example, and it makes Elayne feel pretty conflicted, like Billy said. Like, can you imagine having to sit and listen to someone talking about how they boned your partner, the man you're in love with? And,
Yeah.
yes, I do still love you as a sister, and I'm very happy for you, but God damn it.
And he did love kissing my neck. Shut up.
Shut up. Yeah. So, Billy, the question I wanted to ask you is, I think one of you has already, if not both of you, has already said this. Why have we been given this chapter? What was the purpose? What have we learned here?
You're asking me what have we learned here?
Well, I mean, I've got some theories, and I think one of them may have been confirmed when I read ahead a little bit in the very next chapter for the section after this episode. But I wanted to hear if you guys had anything.
Why don't you just tell us,
out.
Moritz?
Just tell us,
stop.
because we got nothing.
Yeah. End the suspense.
Okay, well, this is again just my theory, and I think I'm on the right track, and it's actually backed up by what you just said, Joe. So the easy read of it would be to show the dynamic between the groups of the female channelers, right? Like, we're going to see them traveling together a lot. They're going to spend a lot of time, and they're going to be shooting daggers at each other. So this is RJ obviously just really treading that path repeatedly, explaining to us what this, so that we don't ever have to think about, like, oh, what do the Windfinders think about the Aes Sedai again? Or what do the kin think about the Windfinders? Like, okay, I think we will now forever remember this for the rest of our lives, right? Like, this is not going to change anytime soon. But the very last paragraph of the chapter has another clue where Elayne thinks about retaking the throne in Camelot, and how it would simply be a matter of convincing the most powerful houses that her claim to the throne was still intact despite her lengthy absence, and maybe deal with a rival claim or two. She couldn't help but feel it would be way easier than this. Now, we know that is not the case. But what that did for me was draw a link between what she's doing here and what she will have to go do in Camelot. And Joe, what you said now about, like, if she backs down, it looks weak, like she can be manipulated, and she has to sort of hold that. And the little snippet that I read in a future chapter is that Elayne thinks to herself that she is so proud of herself for the way that she acts after she tells everyone to run, after the Bowl of the Winds is used.
Yeah.
Immediately after that, she thinks it's very queenly of her that she got people to act and then they acted. Like, she felt like she accomplished something. So for me, what a lot of this is setting up is Elaine's need to grow as a person in command, to rule Andor, to take the Lion Throne. She's herself admitting that, like, these things are going to happen, and she's sort of self-regulating or sanity checking her decisions in her inner monologues and stuff as well. So I think that is what, at least part of what we're supposed to get from this, is Elayne is fully in training. Like we had a lot with Egwene, becoming Amelin, and sort of
Yeah.
like there was a lot of build up before she was just the pro that we know her to be, or that we remember her to be. And I think Elayne has to go through that
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
She's not just going to walk onto the Lion Throne and be the best queen ever. She's sort of cutting her teeth on the small scale politics over here with some pretty serious players, right? Like she's managing Seafolk Windfinders, including the highest ranked Windfinder of all of them. And then Aes Sedai. I mean, the kin to a lesser extent, but like the Aes Sedai are master manipulators. They are strong on hierarchy and controlling the situation. And Elayne is maneuvering all of them. And then having to deal with Nynaeve on the side as well, which is no mean feat.
And Aviendha screwing her boyfriend.
Yeah, just being
she's got a lot
distracted
on her
by.
plate.
There's a lot happening, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
kind of showing you exactly what she's made of. She did scream at Merilil, though, so she's just going to have to learn to not do that.
Okay, so this chapter is to show us that she's getting there, but not quite yet.
Yes, I think. That's how I
The
can.
queenly composure
Yeah,
is not quite there yet.
not
Alright,
quite. So,
Gotcha.
all right, that was a peaceful ride. Let's move on swiftly to chapter 4 called A Quiet Place. So, Willie, just how quiet is this place?
Not fucking quiet at all, I can tell you that.
No.
After the rockers that they falls there now. We have finally arrived at the farm, and we're carrying on with the Elayne point of views, which has been quite nice. Well, farm is a farm. There's buildings, there's people, there's quite a few people, but a definite
Chickens running
absence.
around,
Yeah,
goats.
chickens, goats, rakes, plants,
Channelers.
farm stuff. Not a lot of children or men, just women's. So everyone knows that it is a place of contemplation for the women's to go to, like nunnery or something. Now,
Jody.
Jody.
Broken.
Nunnery.
That's not what I expected either. But sure.
I was thinking like a spa.
Yes, a retreat.
Do yoga in the
Yoga
morning.
retreat. Don't they do yoga at a nunnery? Anyway, as they walk
Should.
in,
Mental
they
image.
are met. Now, the deal was, and the plan was, now they could have maybe spent the previous chapter discussing the plan on what they're going to do, because if a bunch of Aes Sedai walk into this place shielding women from Aes Sedai, you tend to imagine shit would go down. But it wasn't discussed. There was an off-page discussion, and not everyone listened. And this woman very quickly picked up the ruse and saw the Aes Sedai, and all shit breaks loose. I mean, 10% of them faint. So there's like 15 fainted women on the floor all over the place. Others head for the heels, others screech, and others just like, oh, well, acceptance, I suppose. Like, sit down, wait, I'm going to get still now, or something, like get harnessed or whatever.
Honest.
To this, Nynaeve, of
Those
course.
some of them head for the hills, literally. Like
Literally running
over the
to the
heels.
throws. So Nynaeve is obviously taking charge, not in a good way. And it's like, get the warders and round them up like prisoners. That's going to do it. And Elayne is not going to argue with his new
Yeah,
wife.
that'll calm them down.
And then he looks at Brigitte and she's like, why do I want to come and join you? Anyway, it happens. They start rounding them up. They spread the word that they're there to be let in. And we are introduced to Elise, who is the runner of the farm. And she is maybe sort of second in age, it would appear. She's quite high up because she knows that how do I pronounce her
Rianne?
name again? Rianne
Rianne.
is a
Not Renale.
no, not Rain, the other one.
Oh, there's Rainin as well. Yeah.
Yes, don't let's not confuse
Yeah.
the fact. Yeah, it is the number one lady of the king.
Rianne.
She's the
Rianne
oldest. Rianne Corley,
We'll just call her eldest.
the
With
eldest.
a
Yeah.
capital E.
They do.
Anyway, Elise doesn't suffer fools. She's a straight up woman, hard ass, runs the farm out in the country. So her and Nynaeve is going to get on swell. You can imagine there's two of them going to just gel really, really good.
That'll be Nynaeve in 400 years.
Now,
She'll be like a...
when all of this from Renala comes out that, hey, we're going to let Bicken, Elisa's got her own suspicions around it. Like, what, just to be novices again, like be servants in the tower. But anyway, they're not privy to this transaction and discussions and what happened in Ebou Dar. So there's a lot of catching up that needs to happen. We do find here that Elayne and Nynaeve are introduced by other Aes Sedai now as Aes Sedai. Elayne Sedai and Nynaeve Sedai, which is kind of nice seeing that this is now just sort of like, okay, cool. They've just been browbeaten enough into it now. They've accepted it.
Recognize.
Now, the sea folk have ridden all day because they couldn't make a gateway close to the farm. I think they don't wear underwear or something. Their bits are hurting. Like, they're not loving life.
They've never ridden horses.
Never ridden a horse, and probably
But
don't
how much
wear
underwear
underwear.
you got on?
No, it helps if you've got good padding. If you've got any padding, it helps better than no padding. Anyway, we're gonna just take it that they had very thin cotton blouses on, and they are Aina. Healing would be good.
Yeah.
It's been suggested, but neither Nynaeve or Elayne feels like they'll offer it. They'll wait until it's asked. Like, that just like let them get out of their pride a bit. Like, actually ask for something that they can't do yet. They can channel, but they can't heal. Yeah, never gonna happen. I've got a note here that Nynaeve and Elise perfect match. Like, we went through that. It's like they're just gonna get along like a house on fire. Elayne is now again back to the Bowl of the Winds, hoping that out of all of these, they've got enough powerful women to bowl the thing correctly, and I think they do have too many. They're going to bowl it over. The rest of the group have now joined in. The kin without Ispan. So everyone is now coming in. The rest of this party and the others that were rounded up, that were running for the hills, quite literally, also been rounded up. Now, Ispan is with Adelaus and Van Dien, who have linked, who's shielding her because she's also now coming out of a drug state, and said, hold off with the antibiotic juices, or the tranquilizer juices. Let us have a little chat to her. And also indicating at this point to Elayne and Nynaeve and them that some things you don't want to get your hands dirty with. Like, leave it to all the experienced people who has been in the muddy water. And, like, we don't need a hot head or a hot heart in there. And truthfully, all of them are. I mean, just the thought of questioning Aviendha's already plucking out a knife and cutting her fingernails and stuff. And they actually glare at her like, that one, for sure. She'll stab them. Like, you can't let these hotheads loose. And then, as they take her away, and Elayne can feel the channeling, she also realizes, whoa, like, they're sealing what's happening in their inn. So it could be quite and they're like, look, there's a really big rule set around questioning someone in terms of how it is done. There's ethics in it. Like, it cannot go through a certain period. Rest needs to be, and always starts with the offer of healing. Like, but who knows what pain is inflicted in that questioning. I guess we're not privy to that at this point yet. Ispan, of course, in this confrontation prior to this, denies everything, and she is Elida's friend, and everything is going to be fine, and they are the usurpers, and blah blah blah, like big stories, and this one accuses this one of that, and whatever. Just question her and move on.
Yeah, Ispan, I'll jump in here, is actually glad now that she's been handed over to the Aes Sedai, because she knows about the rules. She knows that she can be sure that she'll be interrogated within a set of rules, whereas with the kin, she has no idea. And, you know, anyone else, like, God forbid that Aiel woman or somebody gets a hold of her. Yeah, like, it's terrifying. Now she's actually like, but ballsy as well. Like, I'm Elida's buddy, and everything's going to be, like, she will rescue me, she won't allow anything, and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, man, Elidas threw you under the bus ages ago with a whole bunch of other people as well.
Yeah.
Now, Elise addresses everyone in the same manner and tone, and specifically the Windfinders, and tell them, like, look, if you want to get yourself tended to, get out of the sun, there's a building, go, blah, 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 you know, carry on with your sore bums. And then Renila, it's like, do you know who? And Elise turns her back and like, I don't care, and walks off. Like, not phased at all about these Windfinders and their woo-ha, which Aviendha and Elayne loved. Like, oh, this is so good. They just like, we're not getting involved. We're standing back and watching this shit go down. There's no need for them to intervene there. And now finally, Elayne has some more time with the Hall of Goodies, sorting out between 742, I counted, table legs that was kept.
Yeah.
And none of them match.
There's a backstory to them. There was an Aes Sedai that had not an Aes Sedai, one of the kin that had a dog. She couldn't marry, obviously, because she was Ebou Dar, so no wedding, no belt knife and anything that she had. But she had a dog, and this dog she believed was magical. Like it could find Terangriel, and it would always find the, table leg. It'd come home with the table leg, and she would store them because she believed, like truly, that they were magical items.
Fascinating.
It's like a magic
Fascinating
lassie.
dog story. Yep, magic lassie. But anyway, amongst all magic lassie stable legs, Elayne gets another things. Now she finds in her pouch she's already got the little turtle, Terangriel, or not Terangriel, Ungriel. She finds the bracelet that we mentioned with the little things, and then the ivory-seated woman with 2 fingers kissing or whatever. Magic signs, and that is 3 they have now in their possession. Or where's the brooch? Is the brooch the turtle?
Varen had a brooch.
So
And
Varen's
then-
got a brooch.
I think so. And Elayne has, in the recent chapters, also found a little amber turtle or something. It might also have been a brooch, actually.
So that is so the turtle is the
Yeah,
brooch.
she found the
just found
turtle-
early in the day.
Yes.
Yes.
When she was first started
Yeah.
unpacking. Now she's found 2 more or 3 more?
2 more. So she's
more.
found
Okay.
3 Ungreal
Yes.
in that cache already. And
Yeah.
quite, like the nice little ivory statue, the brooch, turtle shell brooch, and the bracelet with things, little beads or whatever.
It's rings
on them.
connected to a bracelet by thin chains.
Oh, like maybe
So
over
many
the top of the
Stargate
hand.
references in this episode. That's something the Ghoul use as a weapon.
Ah, okay.
I'll send you a screenshot later in the group.
Anyway, so while all of this goes down, and she has a little like touchy-feely new toys episode, Nynaeve strides up to them. She had given the sea folk healing. She just cannot help. She loves healing. She tugs her braid and says it's time. Classic Nynaeve. The end of that chapter.
I heard it like a UFC announcement. It's time. That's how I read it.
Probably not far off.
Yeah. Nynaeve standing in the middle of a ring, gathering everybody.
In a very,
The fight is now.
in a
Let's
very
go.
flashy jacket.
It's the main event, people. Let's go.
Bruce Buffer loves his jackets. But any notes, Joe?
Oh, shit. There was something that I thought of. Oh, yes. My chapter. Really shitty. Everybody trying to get rid of Ispan or get Ispan. And then in the beginning of this chapter, they walk out of the forest and Adelaide and Van Dien have Ispan.
Yeah,
When did that happen?
they just went
Elias
against.
and
I
Vinian
think
moved in.
when the
Like Elayne kept on denying everybody, so they just went behind her back and went straight
is
to
it
her.
not?
And went,
I feel like
Looks
the
like it.
kin sort of shoved her at Van Dien and Adelaide. Like it's when the chaos breaks out on the farm and the kin are all in a tizzy.
no,
I got the sense that it wasn't Van Dien and Adelaide that necessarily stepped in and took her from the kin. I thought the kin would just like, please get
No.
this woman away from us.
I thought that they already had the shield as they walked out of the forest before anybody
Yes.
freaked
Yeah,
out.
they did.
I agree.
I-
But I think what happened, what we don't see, is the kin going, I don't want. Let's
Yeah, well,
consult the Book of Armaments. I mean,
Book
the
of
Holy
Armaments
Text.
Yes.
does not stipulate anything that other that when Elayne thinks that She sees the kin and she's like, oh shit, where's Ispan? And looks further back, and then she sees that Ispan is already shielded by a linked Andalaise on Van Dien. And I think that it was their whole thing, like, we need to get our hands on her. Like, this is going to be, like, they positioned themselves to do it.
Yeah, I'm just saying there was a whole 24-minute chapter of Elayne not agreeing to this swap, and then they walk out of the forest off page and the swap's happened. Like, okay.
I get the same sort of Varen vibes from Elayne and Adelaise and Van Dien.
Yeah.
And not out of the sort of Black Aja Varen, but sort of just out of the lot of knowledge, heaps of things that they know. I dig them.
They are very rad. There's that scene where they got her in the room and they weave that barrier to block out the sound. Elayne thinks like, oh yes, because you wouldn't want people listening in on this interrogation, and then thinks, oh wait, it also stops the screams from getting out. Like,
it's a grim
that's a hardcore
thought.
scene. Like,
yeah, it's a very grim.
Like, she thinks she's 100% certain that Adelaide and Van Dien are going to torture Ispan until she screams, even if it is within the rules.
Who knows?
They'll have to stop at sundown or something. I
mean, you can't kill anyone with the power, except to save your life.
But yeah, it's not going to be pleasant in that room. And in my next chapter, they're not even there, Adelaide and Van Dien. They're still back torturing Ispan for information.
Yeah, they can't hear what's happening outside. They very much busy there inside in their bubble, quite literally.
Yeah. Martz, what have you found?
No mention of them before the chaos erupts. What you got there, Vil?
Okay. So Elayne turned towards the pack horses, which was just beginning to be led towards the farm buildings. She noticed the knitting circle, Rihanna and the whole lot of them making their way over to the farm on foot. Some of them hurrying towards women lying on the ground, others towards standing about gaping. The whole lot of them noticed no sign of Ispan. It took only a few glances for her, though, between Adelaide and Van Dien, each holding an arm as they half dragged her along, their dust cloak streaming behind. The white-haired sisters were linked, the glow of Sadar somehow encompassing them both without including Ispan. There was no way to tell which one led the small circle and held the shield on the Dark Friend, but not even one of the Forsaken could have broken it.
Right, and then the next time this is after the chaos had erupted.
This is post-chaos.
And the next time you see them is in the interrogation room, Van Dien immediately says to Elayne, she immediately says to her, Sumiko had said that the potion Nynaeve had been feeding them has been wearing off, sort of implying like, okay, she was waking up now. We have to maybe step in or...
But isn't one of the knitting circle kin one of the girls that can make the most powerful shield, that could shield even a Forsaken?
But she's not here.
Okay.
I don't think. Barrowin?
Barrowin. Could be.
Ooh, callback. Damn it, stepped right in that
mistake.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Even Martz is sick of callbacks.
Oh, God. Despite this weakness, she seems to have a talent for shielding. Barrowin Doraison.
Ooh. Well done, Martz.
Yeah, so I don't know. You're right, Joe. Like, they made this whole big deal about the kin having to take control of Ispan, and then this transpired anyway.
Yeah, the next time you see her, she's not with the kin. No. It's like, all right, fine.
But it is after this, like, the chaos.
Yeah, so I think that maybe, like, Adelaide and Van Dien sees the opportunity, saw the chaos. Like, give us the shield, go help your friends,
Absolutely.
You know. I don't think the kin shoved the...
No, but they welcomed this opportunity.
Happy,
they were like, yes,
happy
take
to
her.
get rid of her. Yeah.
We have to go see to this other
was the
woman.
moment that Adelaide had been waiting for.
Yeah. So the Aes Sedai that had not pulled up her hood far enough, that caused all the chaos, guess.
Black Aja, Carrie Ann, or what's her name?
Exactly. Just always a fly in the ointment. Also, this farm is huge, like 12 buildings. Elayne thinks to herself, it looks more like a small village than a farm, which is pretty cool. Also, it's like quite a successful and lucrative like olive grove, and apparently produce some good products. Like it's a working farm, I guess.
Yeah, it's not just a place of contemplation. It's slavery. You go there to pick olives.
It's not slavery. That is a huge leap.
A lot of contemplation is done during labor, during work.
Yes.
Don't you find that yourself?
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
find the
Dig a
best
hole in the garden and think
contemplating
about all
gets
kinds of
done
stuff.
while digging a hole for an olive tree.
Yeah, exactly. Hole digging. That's why the Aes Sedai do it so much. I mean, the Aes Sedai, the Aiel. They're always making you dig holes for no reason.
Yeah. So you can contemplate.
Revelation.
It's meditative.
Exactly.
Here's another clue about Elayne's queen training. In all this talk of torture or interrogation, she recalls something her mother told her. What you order done, you must be willing to do with your own hand.
Yourself.
As a queen, what you have ordered done, you have done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She got that from Ned Stark.
Ned Stark. Ah, Jody.
It's interesting.
I win the podcast.
You get all the podcast points. Interesting here that Elayne thinks about the link between Adelais and Vandine, that they could have been on opposite sides of the planet and the link would still have been intact, but its efficacy would have waned to such an extent that the weave they were holding would not have an effect anymore. But yeah, interesting how they would have ever tested that.
Well, maybe
They only
it's
operate
because
on one
they're sisters that they are so attuned that their linking is even more like.
Yeah, that's the question. Is it a general thing that links do, like with magic users?
that's-
with Aes Sedai,
that's how
or
I-
is it specific to those two?
Well,
I think it's
Elayne
because they
assumes
sisters.
it. Well, she assumes it about the link because it doesn't. She just thinks about it matter of factly. It doesn't matter how far apart they are. I don't know that Elayne is qualified enough to speak on how their particular linking works. I thought it was more like how linking works in general, like Elayne stating a fact. The distance they were between each
Yeah,
other
that's
didn't.
what I thought. But just something that Willie said now that made me contemplate another option.
The fact that
Maybe
they're sisters.
specifically those two.
Yes.
Yeah, that they're so close. They've been linking with each other for like how many years? 200 years?
Yeah.
How old are they?
I mean, that could absolutely be it.
So
Put a pin in that one.
All of the above is true. Then no pin
Yes.
needed.
okay.
Schrodinger's link. Okay. It's as Vandine is cautioning the younger woman about interrogation and how some may acquire a taste for it that she gives Aviendha a weighing look. And when you switch to Aviendha, like you see her, she's just sheathing her knife again. She's not making a big show of it, but when Vandine is like, well, some can get a taste for it, and she gives her a weighing look, she's like, okay, shrink, I'll put that back. Then the unreal that we find in this case, right? So we said the rings and the bracelet and the seated female figure, those are all just straight up unreal. The jewelry set, among other things, can allow the users to communicate over long distances. So, she finds the bracelets and the earrings that all match in a big set. One of the things they can do is they can communicate over long distances. But the most important pieces are probably the jewelry defense system that Nynaeve currently wears. I don't know why currently on the fandom wiki. I don't know what that means, but there's a slim golden belt set with very good rubies, which is a well for Saidar. So you can store one power in it.
What
Lanfear.
Lanfear wears.
Well, she wears a silver one.
Yeah, but I mean, same thing.
Could be.
Well.
Could be. The bracelet with pale red stones can cover the wearer with a very strong armor. So Nynaeve wears that later in the series. So like gaining weapons, right? Like she's collecting things much like what Cadsuane has in her Paralis net. And some of these sort of things that we learn about these things are confirmed from Cadsuane's point of view when she observes them on Nynaeve and stuff. She realizes they can do things similar to hers. There's a ring with one pale green stone that can detect someone channeling either Saidin or Saidar close enough to threaten, even if they have masked their ability and inverted the weave, and may possibly indicate their direction as well, which is very similar to some of the stuff that Cadsuane has. There's a ring with a flawless sapphire that goes cold when someone nearby is angry or hostile. Useful.
Mood ring.
Yes, but other people's moods, specifically if they're angry.
And only 2 moods.
And then one of the jewelry pieces can stop direct weaves of the power. Exactly like Matt's medallion.
Like the medallion.
Exactly like it.
Oh.
And later in the story, there's one of Sindane's weaves disintegrates when it reaches Olivia. Like, remember the Damane that is like super, super powerful, like more powerful than Nynaeve? She's got a bunch of these things on later, and Sindane channels a weave at her and it dissipates. It goes to nothing. Then, of course, the Artham, the dull dagger that hides you from the shadow. This is a key.
that's it.
This is a key part. So this is the treasure that they find with the bowl in the prophecy. Although I've read since then that some people think the kin are the treasure.
The dagger, yes. I wanted to look that up because it's not it's like an ornamental dagger. It's like they say
It's got
the
a dull
edge is
blade.
dull by purpose. Like it was made that way. And then I forgot to look it up. So that hides you from the shadow.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
neat.
Rand uses it in the final battle to approach Thakandar and Shal Ghul undetected. He just rocks up.
They find really good things there. Forget about the bowl.
Powerful. When Aviendha holds it, she starts trembling. Stuff like she has a visceral reaction to holding this thing. So I don't know if it is because of what this thing is. Because Aviendha, we learned very soon after this. I don't know if it's in these chapters or very soon after, but she has a talent for recognizing what Terangriel do. So while Elayne has a talent for making them, Aviendha can look at them and go, "Oh, it does this. Pass me the next one. Oh, this one does that. Pass me the next one." Yeah, great. Convenient.
This is the biggest problem we have with Terangriel. So many dead Aes Sedai, burnt out Aes Sedai, trying to figure out what
She
they
just
do.
does it.
Oh, like I could just tell you by looking
She
at
just
it.
asked me then.
Touching.
Should have called me.
But I was wondering, like, does she have this visceral reaction because maybe she realizes here that this is a talent she has? Like, she's handling Terangriel and going, fuck, I actually
maybe.
can tell what these things do. Or is it because, oh man, this thing can hide you from the shadow. I could give this to Rand or give this to someone and it would protect them somewhat, like the shadow wouldn't be aware of where they are. And I think it is her that specifically gives it. I don't know who gives it to Rand, but after
Maybe
they figure out what it does, they give it to her.
half of it is true that she's feeling stuff she doesn't know right now, and that's still going to get figured out. That her holding it's like, what the fuck am I feeling? It's like, what is happening over here? So kind of when Jody's going to do his chapter of them channeling with all the Ungreals and the superpower and the throbbing and the shaking.
Shaking like a shitting dog.
Should we get to the throbbing shitting dog?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We are going to chapter 5 called The Breaking Storm. Why don't you break down this storm for us, Jody?
It was only when I was actually writing the notes for this was like the breaking storm. The breaking storm. Finally, the storm that's been bugging Nynaeve from 4 years ago breaks. So anyway, remember if the last line was it's time. So they are all on top of a hill, like a big flat hill kind of area that's super high up, and they can see for miles in every direction. It's beautiful, even though it's all dry and everything's dying. It's still pretty. They realize, okay, it's a good idea if you want to, start messing with weaves over long distances, that you should be able to see long distances, and this is the best spot for it. Nynaeve is angry.
All the time.
I don't know what to tell you. She's not happy that land is gone again. She's acting like a damn fool. Aviendha is also a little bit uneasy. Everybody's on edge. I mean, we know about the kin. Those 3 kin women are about to faint and have fainted several times. One of them, I can't remember what her name is. It comes up later. She has fainted several times, and she is here. But they need her because she's one of the strongest there is. And this is where we find out that all that shame that Aviendha's carrying about, making a fool of herself in front of the Aes Sedai and like trying to undo the weave, or succeeding in undoing the weave for the gate, and being freaked out about a servant that was standing out there, and she feels so bad about it. And Elayne's like, you have like no reason to feel ashamed. I think you did the right thing. Everything we discussed, because we know she's right, and she was spot on. So great. And Elayne gives her one of the Ungreal, the little hippie woman with the peace sign statue, and she's like, oh wow, what a great gift you've given me. And I thought at that moment when I was reading it, I was like, oh wait, is it a gift, or did she just like give it to you to use during this this session? Like, I'm gonna want that back later. Or did she just assume, oh, that's what a marvelous gift, thank you? So apparently Elayne thinks nothing, because it is her point of view, and says nothing, so we know it was actually a gift. But I thought there for a second, like, it's not a gift. Give it back. This is going to be awkward. but it's not. So before everybody gets started, so she's like trying to, calm down. And this Aiel ex-warrior, and then Nynaeve approaches her, and she's all like, "You gotta help me out. Whenever I act like a fool about a man, I rely on you. I'm sorry about saying this." And she's just like, Elayne's going, "What the fuck? Nynaeve now is saying that she is a fool and asking for help and apologizing, and I've been dealing with Aviendha and her emotional issues. Like something very weird is going on right here." But she says, "Okay, listen, you're supposed to be the leader. If I can pull yourself together and start leading," and then slaps that Angreal on her hand. She's the one. She gets the one with the rings and the chains connecting it to the hand piece. That one. So yeah, Nynaeve is now super powerful. I do love it when she gets even more powerful.
Yep.
Renail, she is in charge of the Sea Folk. If you have forgotten, there's so many people with so many names. She starts calling all the Sea Folk together, and Elayne thinks to herself, how regimented they are. It's so military, and so everybody, all the ranks among the Sea Folk and whatnot, which elude Elayne and us. Renelle puts somebody called Caer Din Galen Running Wave in charge, just above her sister Tibrail. So apparently there's a thing between these two sisters. Caer is super condescending and arrogant and smug as a bug in a rug, and Tibrail is ashamed that she didn't get chosen. So there was some rivalry between these two sisters, and it's now done because she's in charge now. Kier, or whatever you want to pronounce it. She gives a speech about what they're going to do and everything that they've learnt and blah, 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 blah. And then she orders Nynaeve to explain linking to everybody else there. All right. Nynaeve's like, "Am I allowed to speak now, Your Highness?" But she manages to keep herself under control, and she starts explaining everything and starts a link with Elayne, and then they pass it on to Aviendha, etc., etc., so everybody can see how it's done. Rianne is not very stoked. She thinks it's very dangerous, this whole linking thing. And Saratha, who is, I can't remember if she's brown now. I can't remember. Whatever. She's there too. Starts giving a little lecture. She gets into the lecturing tone that is mentioned in the books makes me think that this is Brown explaining something
that would be
to
consistent.
somebody here. It would, yeah. So it's like the tower has studied this for hundreds of years. Like, don't worry about it, and it's perfectly safe. And this, this relaxes Rianne because an Aes Sedai just told her straight, with no lying and whatnot, that it's 100% safe, that they've tested it and all. But something I noticed here that I added in later to my notes is that Elayne notices an inflection speech in her speech at one point. And she's like all these things, like she says to her that no one can be pulled into a circle against their will. And Elayne thinks that there's a slight hesitation or something there at that moment, and she has questions for later. So is this like, changing people or like getting 13 people in a circle and turning you to the dark side? Or what is this because this is something here that we're going to come back to. Does anybody know is my question.
It's probably a bit more like the sort of Adam type stuff.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's what that means, pulling someone into a circle against their will.
Yeah.
And I think is it Renail that asks, why are the Aes Sedai studying this? Why are you studying linking at all? What are you trying
to... it's Rianne.
Is it Rianne? Okay.
No, it was
I think it's Rianne.
No,
the Windfinders.
Oh, it is Renail.
Renail.
All right. Yes, okay.
And the question eventually, like Saratha says something specifically to her, like, you can try it yourself. And then she sort of goes, okay, cool, well, fine. I will take your word for it. Like, it took a final statement after sort of going on a little tangent.
Yeah, but I mean, so then Saratha knows about the Adam, and so does everybody. Why is it so mysterious and have these questions?
I think she mentions that they were sort of studying about it, or they directly in the aftermath of the breaking were doing it to try and control men. So like pulling them into a circle because they're going crazy. So if you can pull them into a circle, you can control them, you can prevent them from using that power without having to kill them.
So maybe it's the band of domination, or the domination bands, or what do you call them, Moritz?
Dominion bands, domination bands. Fuck.
Dominion bands.
Christ, let's just say all the names, and then one of them will be right.
Yeah.
But I think the whole topic of controlling someone with the one power is obviously extremely taboo.
Yeah, and she's lying.
Who?
She
Saratha.
says you can't, Saratha, like you can't pull someone into a circle against their will, but you can.
You can't though. And also she's Aes Sedai, so she can't lie.
I mean, isn't that what the Adam is?
That's not a circle. The Adam doesn't open you up, and you can't take
It's not
several Adam
linking.
Oh, okay.
and link up with several women and be now the
The
head
thing
of
they are
a
doing
circle.
here can't be forced on someone.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know that Saratha knows much about Adam at all or has ever seen one. She's never encountered the Shaun.
That's why I'm so confused here. Like, what are people talking about, and why does Elayne going to have questions after this to give to her, and what is Saratha hiding in that little inflection point?
Let's put a pin in it.
Anyway, with all the others.
Yes, we're running out of pins.
Yeah, someone go buy pins. So so like then one by one, I just had to find out where I was. I haven't moved that far in my notes. I was looking way further down the page. So yeah, they start linking, and then we go through the whole linking and linking and linking. As soon as everybody is linked, this Kaer woman just rips control away from everybody in the circle, and that's not how you do it. You've got to be gentle, all right? But she starts using the Bowl of the Winds, and she starts making all these elaborate weaves of all the 5 powers, and she makes like a 5-pointed star and lays it in the bowl, and then changes it to a 6-pointed, 7-pointed, and everything starts changing, and all the shit is happening. And Elayne and myself, and I suppose every other observant reader, is like, wow, thank God that this woman is here, because nobody would have been able to do anything like what she is doing here. And she's obviously had like years and years of study. And everybody is just blown away by what she's doing. And of course, like in all superhero and sci-fi movies, the bad guy has like a giant beam of light shooting up into the clouds. Yes. This is what's happening here. So there's a giant beam of light shooting up into the clouds. And Elayne kind of notices here as well that it's folding around something else invisible. The weaves of Sidar. And she's like, oh shit, because this bowl, it starts drawing. It's like once you activate it, it starts drawing its own sources of Saidin and Sidar. So the two are being used together, and there's a little scene where she's going like, oh, I hope no one else has noticed that. And when she looks around, everybody else is about to vomit. It's clearly freaking out. Like everyone has noticed this and is freaking out. But, good on the kin women for not vomiting and passing out again, like actually just getting on with it. So everyone's doing their fair share. And this weave goes on for some time, different weaves and different things, and then it just ends. Like Kaer stops making weaves, and she lets go of the circle, and like everyone's shocked again because this woman is not subtle and not
trained.
Careful. So anyway, yeah, it's the first circle she's ever led.
And changed the whole world's weather
at all. Yes, like we'll cut her some slack this time. But the other Aes Sedai, well, everyone else, all the other channels are like, first they have the power ripped away from them by her, then they just released without any warning, so it's kind of shock to their systems. But everyone looks around like I was like, oh, cool, now I'm going to see like a rainstorm or something. No, nothing happens. This very, very uneventful. And everybody's like, so what did you do something? And she's like, yeah, well, I changed the rudder on a ship the size of the world, or Edbot or whatever. It's going to take some time, So everybody's just going to have to wait and see that I am right. And now she's like, great, we've done it. We've done what our part of the bargain requires. Now give us the Bowl of the Winds. That's the bargain. We get the Bowl of the Winds. And you, Aes Sedai, we need 20 of you and start giving orders and blah, 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 blah. And Nynaeve's like, whoa. I think we need to wait and see if it worked before we continue with the bargain. They don't like this, but of course, fuck them. Who cares what they like? So while they're, fighting over who takes the Bowl of the Winds and who doesn't, Elayne becomes aware of some echo of a channel somewhere. And she's thinking, like, well, that's weird. But she feels channeling. And then everybody else starts feeling it. And even the weakest among them that are up on the thing that weren't participating, but they were there to watch, who shouldn't be able to feel channeling this far from the source, also feel it because it's just so much. More than even a Forsaken. And they all look over to Ebou Dar because they're up on this high hill now. They can see far. And they start seeing the Shaun Chan attack on on Ebou Dar, the city itself. The lightning coming out of nowhere. They're thinking, oh, is this like, some of them are like, is this the bowl of the winds working? There's like a thunderstorm happening now, but no, there's no clouds. There's just lightning. And they immediately, Nynaeve wants to go back to Ebou Dar. She's like, we got to go get Matt. We got to go save these people. Elayne's thinking about like, oh yeah, like, what about, she mentions Vannon. Like, he's left an impression on her.
Yes.
She starts worrying about all the people she cares about. Olver
Tom.
and Vannon is one of them. It's like, wow. And Tom, of course, Tom, he goes without saying. But, she realizes that, she also has her little moment here of duty is heavier than a mountain, etc., etc. As the queen, like this, she tries to convince Nynaeve as well. Like, look, we've just done something incredible. You can't even stand on your legs, just shaking from all the power that we've used and whatnot. And we still have to get down there. And what if Matt's already out of the city? Like, we know nothing. All we're doing is throwing ourselves into the middle of a shitstorm. And it'll only end badly for us. So we've got to head to Camelin, basically, is the only thing we need. Then someone screams shadow spawn, and one of the raken that's flying over just turns into fire, basically. Then they're shooting. There's another one that gets away, kind of ducks behind a hill, and everybody's like, oh my god, look at the shadow spawn, must be the Forsaken attacking. And Elayne's like, no, I've seen these things before. This is a Sean-Chan attack. So Renail as well, she knows about the Sean-Chan. She's like, we've heard about them. They've attacked our ships. So she tries to open a gateway right back to her ship right there and then. But of course it fails because she doesn't know the ground she's on very well. And apparently you can't gateway to a moving object. Elayne says this, and she notices one of the other Aes Sedai nodding in agreement. But like, did she just guess that? She figured it'll be difficult to do? I don't know. Anyway, so you can't gateway to something that's moving.
Well, the gateway is to a point in the pattern, right?
Yeah, so to another spot, and it has to be stationary. Because or maybe if you open the gateway just to, I don't know. There's some mechanics there. So anyway, she wants to get out of there and get back. She wants to be on the ship fighting, and everybody's like, no, listen. Elaine's like, listen, you can't go back either. You're not going to be able to gateway there anyway. And it's too late. She gives the same rationale for everything, and she's like, listen, let's go to Camelin. I'm going there right now. Like, anybody who wants to come with me can come with me as well. But whatever we do, we should get the fuck out of here as fast as possible, because the last thing we want to do is end up collared. And if she says you don't want it like the Sean-Chan to descend on us, they know we're here now. We should all run. And that's when everybody runs, where Elayne gives this command and everyone reacts. To her surprise, everyone just does what she says, because that hasn't happened up until this point. And that's how we end this chapter. Everybody running for their lives.
Yeah. So, Joe, you didn't like this one, eh? Thought it was anticlimactic.
No, look, I liked it, but
liked it
it
fine.
wasn't this big event that I was expecting it to be. And I was hoping to see some, like, because, again, I don't remember anything that happens with this Bowl of the Wind scenario. I know that later it's snowing.
Yes. Because it's on the cover of a book.
But
the next book.
Yeah. Winter's Heart is called the book. Yeah, exactly. So I have that image, but I don't know what happens in between there. Like, how does the weather change? I thought I would see some effects immediately.
What happens here? So just like the participants here, you're also disappointed that the effects weren't immediate. I remember there being a delay, that it wouldn't be immediate, and it stands to reason. But what does happen is that beam that goes up, that massive weave that goes straight up in the sky, apparently there's like a huge explosion up high above the clouds, and then that thing sparks out this wide, like these spokes coming out from it, reaching as far as the eye can see and beyond the horizon and everything.
I think it was the words used to describe it was spider webbing across the sky and kaleidoscope. So a kaleidoscope spider web in the sky.
According to Robert Jordan at interviews, he has said that there is a weirdness in the one power. So it's a weird resonance that that the women are feeling when they channel around this area. And again, anywhere apparently along the main spokes of that spider web that went out, there's a weirdness for some time in the pattern caused by the fact that they overcharged this Terangrill. That's straight from RJ.
And what? When you try to channel in those areas,
there's a weirdness.
Weird shit happens.
Yeah. There's some kind of like interference. Interesting.
Gravitational waves that's like magnified.
I mean, who channels here again? When they leave here, is that when the gateway explodes? Like, is that maybe a reason why the gateway explodes? Because there's weirdness going on with the power?
I haven't read further. Well, we'll find out soon enough. Because I know they're being chased by Sean Chan, and it's over rolling hills.
Right.
And she just explained the view, so it seems like it's right here. All evidence is pointing to it.
Yeah, makes sense. Willie, did you have anything you wanted to lob in there?
Yes, if time is a pattern, and we deal with a pattern over here, and a gateway takes you to a place that is specific. Now, this stems from the boat moving, that you cannot channel to a moving object, or you can't make a gateway to a moving object. Meaning, okay, you've got to find a space-time for that gateway to form.
You're adding time to all of this.
Yes.
Because I know where you're going.
Yes. Why can't they then travel back in time? And then from back in time forward to there. Like, this does open time travel questions.
You said if
shenanigans.
Your very first statement is if time is a pattern, which I don't know where you got that from. Like, I know that we're talking about the pattern and the wheel of time. Yes, but it's never been called the pattern of time.
Yes, I know. In the wheel of time, the repetitive nature, there's a pattern being woven and rewoven the whole time. And if you can make,
and if you balefire,
weave strands, burn
changes
out,
time.
so it goes back in time. So you can burn a thread out of the pattern if you know the location of something and you know the time of it. Can't you open a gateway to the past? You can't to the future because you don't know where you want or what's going to be there.
But it's cyclical, so the future is the past.
Yes, so maybe you can.
So you can travel to the past on the moon.
You can travel backwards to the future. Hang on.
Through space.
There's an IP idea here. Back to the Future. It's got a good ring to it.
Does, eh? So.
Yes.
Moving on.
Jody, desperate to move on. I would like to submit the following. You know how we were talking about like the breaking storm? Oh, yes, finally the storm. That's a three-way, it's a triple meaning because obviously the storm breaking with the Sean Chan attack is one. Breaking storm reference to, the weather change that they've made. And Elayne here refers to Nynaeve's temper as a storm. She says it looked to be quite a storm once she let it break. So even using the word storm and break in the same sentence.
Subtle.
Yes, very subtle. Wow, Fardar Asmai are only allowed to witness questioning after 10 years of carrying the spear and only allowed to perform an interrogation after 20 years of being a maiden. Yeah, they're pretty wise.
So, like, only Soralia is like allowed to question.
She's not a
I
Fardar Asmai.
I know she's not Fardar Asmai, but
even
I
Sulan
make joke.
would be.
I kid.
I kid.
Naughty Aviendha teaching Elayne hand talk. No.
It's okay if you're first sisters, don't you know?
They're not first sisters yet.
The rules become slippery the closer you get.
Yes, also Aviendha becoming a bit of a wetlander, breaking some Aiel traditions there.
Yeah. Well, she's like wearing silks and riding on a horse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird sales pitch from Elayne to Aviendha about using the Ungreal. Sounded to me a little druggy. She's going, you know how it feels holding as much of the power as you can? Imagine twice that. Okay.
What was that? That chocolate advert? The two kids.
Imagine all of that.
Imagine eating all of now.
TV bar.
What was that? TV bar.
Two kids in the rain. Well,
in the bus stop.
Two kids
it's
in the
so
rain.
drab.
Yeah. Classic South African adverts.
Love a TV bar.
Google it, everyone.
The rings and bracelet Ungreal that seems to be made for Nynaeve's hand. When Elayne finds it originally, she says it's made for a much smaller hand. And we all know Nynaeve is quite small in stature, but it seems to fit her quite easily. You find out later that it fits anyone. Like it fits any size hand, which is one of its weird properties.
That's the question I was going to ask. Because
Okay.
I noticed the mention of how small it is, and then it fits Nynaeve perfectly. And I thought, oh wait, is this one of those self-adjusting things?
It is.
It is confirmed.
What else? The Windfinders, they don't go easy on their own family at all, do they? Like, isn't one of the young apprentices is also a daughter of? It's Kaya's daughter. Like her sister's there, her daughter's there, but she's shitting on all of them, like they're nobody anyway. So maybe they even go extra hard on their own family. I was glad that Kaya was leading the circle, though. She obviously knew, like you were saying, Joe, like what to do in the first place.
Yeah, like that's another missed opportunity with these the sea folk. Again, like this comes out of the blue. This is the first time I read about this person that I can remember, and she's been studying this stuff for 2,000 years. She knows all this history that no one else knows about how to use the Bowl of the Winds and all these weaves and everything. And it's like, again, like, oh, here's all this. Look how amazing she is now. She's gone, and the weather's healed. And
isn't it a good thing that the girls decided to ask the Windfinders to help them use it?
Yeah.
Without them, they'd be nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
There's no way they could have done anything with that bowl.
No, nothing. I did enjoy how the imagery on the bowl changed like quite significantly. I always remembered the moving clouds, but there's like stormy seas and then sunny days and stuff. Like it's flicking through all these different different scenes, which was cool.
And channel hopping. No, not that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, exactly.
Those are the presets. What kind of weather would you like?
Yeah.
Just choose the one.
Recoding the weather, putting it in season, this day, that, plant crops, yep. Confirm. And upload.
Save changes.
I'm so proud of Nynaeve for insisting that they go back and get Matt. Because you know how strained their relationship has been. But even Matt, she's like, no, I have to go back and I have to go get him. And he's an Eamondsfielder after all.
She still calls him that boy. That boy as he came for me. Yeah. But she's acting super weird the whole time. Like apologizing to Elayne and asking for help. She's acting like a fool. Yeah. She's
a bit all over the place.
Concerned about Matt. She is. That's just marriage. Being married. That first year of marriage is hard, man. It's a change.
I did like that Elayne sort of like backs up that thought as well, because she also has a clear fondness for him. Like she thinks to herself, Matt Cawthon, her very strange, very instructive subject, her most unlikely rescuer. He had come for her too and offered more. You know, like she recognizes like, yep, he's a keeper. And then she rattles off Tom and Olver and Vannon. I was also tickled, Joe, that she puts Vannon up there with like Tom and Olver. You know, like he's really made an impression.
Yeah, man. He would be so stoked if he knew.
He would. Basil would be so jealous. A raken is only as big as a horse in the body, anyway. I always imagined them much bigger.
Yeah, but the wings are like 30 feet.
And long necks and long tails, you know, but the body is, and that's why there's only two people on the back of these things. Do you remember? Okay, yeah.
It's the tow raken.
I was about to ask.
The troop carrier. Right. Yeah, I do.
Stoked that Aviendha's fireball is one of the first, because she and the Windfinders of all people don't use their hands to gesture at all. They just stand there and the fireballs go flying. I thought it was interesting that the Windfinders were so adept at throwing fireballs, but I mean, that's obviously them engaging with Damane on the ocean in recent months, you know, like the Sean Chan invading, a lot of their ships have been attacked, and the Windfinders would be the only defense against those attacks. Because other than that, when would a Windfinder ever be throwing a fireball?
Well, look, we thought the same thing about the wise ones. Like, how do they know how to fight in battle? Turns out they were practicing and knew tons of weaves.
Okay, but one of those nations is a race of warriors, and the other one is a race of sailors and tradesmen. You know, like why fireballs?
Pirates,
probably.
You're gonna need some cannons, like the cannons on the ships. You know,
because specifically the Aes Sedai are not called out here. It's the Windfinders and Aviendha that don't use their hands, and their fireballs hit first.
Fire and luck is one of the most basic weaves as a. Like when Moridin started teaching Egwene right in the beginning, the first thing is a flame. Like you learn fire, like the baby steps. So maybe everyone has got the baby step figured out. Like cool to make fireballs.
More so than the Aes Sedai, who are using their hands to gesture and stuff.
Yeah, I read about the hand gesturing, but I read it not that they were just standing still and not moving at all. Is that they weren't doing the throwing gesture that the Aes Sedai do, but I still imagine them using their hands and everything, not just standing there.
Interesting.
Shit. It's just that this throwing.
I'm gonna have to go check the wording again.
Oh.
I want to know. I want to know where
that's just how I read.
I want because when I picture Aviendha throwing fireballs, I want to know like is she using her hands or not, or they're just forming in front of her? Like what is she actually doing?
Maybe she's using a hand gesturing in speech, like when you really into a conversation, your hands are going everywhere. Now I'm speaking like Italian. So she might be doing that while channeling, but her hands is there just for pure decoration, emotion. She's emoting.
Jonah, you're right. It's the throwing gesture that they don't do, specifically the throwing gesture. So yeah, they might still be using their hands to do the actual weaves. I'm still going to imagine that they don't, because I actually find that to be quite...
It's a little extravagant. Yes. It's a little
That's very well worded, Moritz. Left no room for interpretation.
No, it's just eloquent, start to finish.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's it from me. We've done it.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. The pain is over. The bandage is off, or the band-aid or the plaster has been ripped off. The pleasant ride and all the politicking between the Aes Sedai and the Windfinders and the kin is over now, right? We'll never read about that again, will we?
No, you just never take another plaster on for
They're
the
out of the
next
story.
episode.
They did get invited to Camelin, but they all said no thanks and ran straight into the short-term battle and all got killed. There you go.
Okay.
And left the ball behind.
If
That's
only.
what happens.
So between all of those non-events, did you guys pick your favorite moments?
Slim Pickens.
Slim.
It is Slim Pickens. I don't have like a favorite moment.
Okay. Well, what is
I have
your
a favorite event in and amongst all of these things that happened.
Okay, well, why don't you start us off then? What's your favorite event?
My favorite event is that Elayne finds cool shit in and amongst table legs. A lot of
Loads
table
cool
legs,
shit.
a lot of cool shit. Like there's cool things that's found that's gonna help them win this
Big
fight.
time.
So that's for me, stands out awesome. And for the rest of it, it was a very, very slim pickings.
Yeah, it was hard work. I mean, I alluded to this in our previous episode after I'd read ahead a little bit. And yeah, here we have it. Jody, what you got?
I got Aviendha being right, doing everything that nobody thought to do, and it was excellent that she did it, and all her suspicions were correct, and she feels shame, and how Elayne is also talking to her like, you shouldn't feel shame, like how people think of Elayne as brave, you know, and she doesn't want to think of herself like that, you know, and like, so they have like this inner doubt, but like fucking Aviendha, spot on, well done. I love. She's a lot of cool things about. She's like the Matt in this chapter. Like turn back to her, like about torturing people, and she's like sliding her knife back in its sheath, and
yeah,
like she would nod appreciatively if you had stabbed her in the chest, and like like all cool little Aviendha moments.
Yeah. Well, Jody, you are a goddamn son of a bitch because you stole my favorite moment.
All right.
Did
you have a backup?
I've got an honorable mention, but that was mine, specifically about her schooling Van Dien and everyone else on the use and the need for unraveling her weave. How, like, I can't do this just because you can't and you think it's dangerous. Don't come at me, right? Like, this was absolutely necessary. Do I need to educate you on how we can be traced? You know, is this another thing you Aes Sedai can't do? You know, I just loved how she stood her ground and basically shut them up.
Yeah.
My honorable mention was Elayne screaming at Merrillil. Because I was also so frustrated, because that's one of the last interactions you read about, and just like when she blows her lid again, like when she got cross with him during her like quote unquote trial, when she rounded on them and took control of that group, I was feeling her frustration again. Like something RJ is doing is making me feel Elayne's emotions as she feels them. And so when she unloaded on Merilil, I was also like, yeah, fucking tell her. They're not Black Archer. They're not dark friends. Like, they fought the Black Archer when you weren't there. Yeah. So, same.
I've got an honourable mention there. The Gholam point of view. Just, again, another fantastic view.
Your mate.
A little bit of darkness there that is just off the charts. It's amazing. A little bit of
they are
bleeding,
terrifying.
Sweet blood. They totally terrifying.
But we get a cool sense here of how it's now afraid of Matt. The only reason it came closer from its high perch was it had made sure Matt wasn't there. That's why it even approached slightly.
Smart animal.
Yes. All right, to our listeners, you can send in your favorite moments for us to read on the show as well. In your podcast app, just go look at the description of this episode, and at the bottom, you'll find links to our website and social media accounts. Tap on one of those and go do anything from sending us a DM, tweeting us, sending us a text message. You can, on our website, even leave us a voice message, which we can play on the show. So after you've done all of those things, you can start looking forward to our next episode, which will be after a bit of a break over the Christmas period. This will be our last episode for the year, but we'll be back in the metaphorical recording booth on the 21st of January, so you have until then to catch up and send in your messages. And everybody's homework will lead us into next time on Blood and Ashes, where we will cover chapter 6 called Threads, to the end of chapter 8 called A Simple Country Woman.
I doubt she is. I have no idea what it's about, but I don't believe it.
I don't know about you guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop myself from actually just reading the rest of the book. I don't know how far I'll get, but I'm going to keep going because I'm enjoying it. So I'm just going to go.
Don't put boundaries on yourself, Moritz. You're do what you want. Read the
You're
Bible,
an adult.
read all the books.
For God's sake, you're an adult man. You can do
You're
that.
right. You guys are right. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. I'm going on an extended holiday for the first time in many, many years. And I think I'm going to have more time for reading than I usually do. So I'm looking forward to it.
Take a hammock and a Kindle, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need.
I can't make highlighter, like texter notes in a Kindle. It would not work so great. But I've got all the physical copies here, all old secondhand copies that I've bought a couple times before and that I've recollected since then. So they're full of notes.
As they should be.
All right. So then the next time we will see everyone is in 2024. But until then, I will say to everybody, sleep well and wake.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Hasta mañana.
That's the only thing it won't be.